Chapter 27. Bai Lian glanced at her back and his lips curled into a mocking smile. No matter how well he did, he couldn't compare to Bailey Han because Bailey Han was the eldest grandson of the Bailey family. Since young, he had been warned not to fight for or covet anything that belonged to Bailey Han. Who cared about what he thought? Xia Dong hated Bailey Han. Although she knew rationally that Bailey Han had no obligation to help her in times of danger, she still couldn't accept it emotionally. After all, he was the child's father. Even if he didn't have any feelings for her, he shouldn't hit her when she was down and do such a vicious thing. She had already decided that he was a devil. When Bailey Han appeared in front of her again under Old Madam's escort, she pretended that he didn't exist and only chatted with Old Madam. She didn't even look at him. It's the weekend, Han doesn't have to go to the company. The weather is good, let him take you out for a walk. It's good for your health. Old Madam knew that their relationship was stiff, so she purposely created an opportunity to matchmake them. How can I do that? Eldest young master is a busy man. I won't trouble him. Xia Dong politely refused and still didn't look at Bailey Han. Bailey Han knew that she was still angry about the miscarriage and purposely ignored him, but he didn't think that he had done anything wrong. He had always been the one to ignore others. When had he ever been ignored so thoroughly? Although he didn't want to admit it, he felt a little indignant. He glanced coldly at Xia Dong and said, "It just so happens that I don't have the bad habit of wasting time. Grandma, I've seen her. She's alive and well. Can I leave now?" Old Madam frowned. "Bailey Han, you've grown up and your wings have hardened, haven't you? You don't even listen to Grandma anymore? You have to take Xiao Xia out today." Bailey Han frowned. "Grandma, don't be unreasonable." "I'm unreasonable." Fine, I am being unreasonable." "So what?" "Ouch." The Old Madam clutched her chest and groaned in pain. "My heart. Old man, this brat doesn't want me to live anymore." "Grandma, are you all right?" Xia Dong hurriedly rubbed her chest. "Calm down, don't get agitated." The Old Madam grabbed her wrist and furrowed her brows in pain. "Xiao Xia, you brat is being disobedient. Do you not want to listen to Grandma anymore?" "Grandma, don't be so agitated. Don't think so much. Have a good rest first, okay?" Xia Dong was defeated by her earnest gaze. She wanted to say something, but she couldn't get over it in her heart. The Old Madam sighed. "All right then. Since you don't want to go out with Han, then let the two of us take you out to relax. We're old and although we can't take you out for a walk, we can still go to the hot springs. As long as you don't dislike us." She was about to get up when Xia Dong hurriedly hugged her arm. "Grandma, there's really no need. I'm fine now. There's no need to trouble yourself." How could she dare to go out with the two elders? What if she bumped into something? Would she be able to bear the responsibility? Bailey Han's eyebrows twitched. A pregnant woman going out with two elders to relax? Only Grandma could think of something like that. Although he knew she was trying to goad him, he had no choice but to jump into the trap. His grandma was a woman of her words. What if something happened to that woman when they went out? "We'll leave in an hour," Bailey Han said coldly. He couldn't be bothered to see them argue and left. The Old Madam's worried expression disappeared. She smiled and patted Xia Dong's hand. She lowered her voice and said, "Don't worry, I'll have the bodyguards follow you." Xia Dong rubbed her forehead. This old lady was really troublesome. She really didn't think there was a need to go out with Bailey Han. What if they encountered danger again and he added insult to injury? If Xia Dong had known that Old Madam's so-called going out to relax was actually going to Bali to relax, she would never have agreed to it even if she was beaten to death. When she sat in Bailey's private jet, she found out that the destination was Bali. In fact, Bailey Han didn't expect that Grandma would ask him to take Xia Dong to Bali for a vacation. It was just that his psychological endurance was better and he had already accepted this reality. Looking at Bailey Han, who was dealing with official business with an expressionless face, Xia Dong comforted herself that she would just take it as a free vacation. Although the backpackers were very annoying, there were also 2 bodyguards, a man and a woman. The man's name was Du Bing, and the woman's name was Ling Shui. They both had the same cold face and looked very boring. After a 10-hour-long flight, they arrived at Bali in the evening. The hotel they stayed at was the most luxurious resort in the area, Sunshine Coast. The Sunshine Coast Resort was controlled by Bailey Group. As soon as they heard that the young master of the Bailey family had arrived, they received him at the private airport half an hour in advance. Xia Dong began to doubt the old madam's intentions. She actually ordered the hotel manager to only open 3 rooms for them. Apart from Du Bing and Ling Shui's rooms, she and Bailey Han were arranged to stay in the same presidential suite. Note, it was 2 people staying in 1 room. Bailey Han negotiated with the hotel manager with a sullen face. The manager bowed in fear and trepidation. "I'm sorry, young master. This is the old madam's and old master's orders. I dare not act on my own. Why don't you talk to old master personally?" The manager dialed an international number and handed it to Bailey Han with both hands. Xia Dong was standing beside Bailey Han. She vaguely heard a woman's voice coming from the phone. It should be the old madam. She didn't know what she said, but Bailey Han's face became more and more ugly. Ew, Xia Dong suddenly felt uncomfortable. She covered her mouth and retched. Ling Shui, the female bodyguard behind her, quickly took out a paper bag and put it in front of her. She helped her to the bathroom. Xia Dong vomited in the bathroom. She was quite normal on the plane just now. She didn't expect to vomit so badly after getting off the plane. When she walked out of the bathroom, her legs were weak. Bailey Han was waiting in the hall with a sullen face. He looked impatient. Seeing Ling Shui helping Xia Dong come over, he said coldly, "Go upstairs." Xia Dong didn't know whether he had communicated with the old madam. She wanted to ask, but when she saw his sullen face, she gigai shut her mouth. However, she soon knew the answer. Du Bing opened the door with the room card. Bailey Han walked in first. Du Bing said respectfully, "Miss Xia, please come in." Xia Dong looked at Bailey Han, who had already walked into the room, and then at Du Bing, who was waiting for her to enter the room. Finally, she turned to Ling Shui and smiled ingratiatingly. "Ling Shui, can I live with you? I can sleep on the sofa." Ling Shui was a bodyguard specially sent by the old madam to protect her. It was said that she used to be a special forces soldier. Ling Shui, as her name suggested, looked cold. She was a famous cold beauty. Ling Shui didn't even blink. "No, the old madam said that you and the young master must live in the same room." It was not that Ling Shui didn't want to help, but the old madam had already said it. "Just help me. If you don't say it, I won't say it." Xia Dong looked at Du Bing. "Du Bing, you won't say it either, right? The old madam won't know." "No, it's my duty to obey orders. I can't disobey orders." As expected of a special forces soldier, she was so impartial. Xia Dong walked slowly and reluctantly into the room she shared with Bailey Han. As soon as she walked into the living room, a towel flew at her face. Bailey Han ordered coldly, "Go in and take a bath. You're not allowed to come out until you're clean." Taking the towel off her head, Xia Dong was angry. "Do you think you're an emperor and everyone has to follow your orders?" Bailey Han's face was gloomy. "I'll give you one more chance. Do you want to take a bath or not?" "No, I don't want to take a bath." Although Xia Dong wanted to take a bath comfortably, she didn't want to be ordered by the annoying Bailey Han. Why should she listen to him? "Well, very good." Bailey Han walked over quickly, exuding a cold and harsh aura. Being stared at by his sharp eyes, Xia Dong felt a little weak, but she still raised her chin with an expression of, "What can you do to me?" Suddenly, she felt that she was lifted up and moved towards the bathroom. "Hey, what are you doing? Let go of me. Don't just pick people up, you bastard." Xia Dong shouted in protest and struggled desperately to get rid of him. Suddenly, she was pushed into the bathtub by the neck. Then Bailey Han turned on the shower head and the cold water poured down from the back of her head. "Oh, you bastard, the water went into my nose, cough, behave yourself, don't challenge my patience," he said impatiently, his hands scratching her head randomly. Then, he squeezed the shampoo on her head and rubbed it randomly. "Hey, stop it, it hurts." He had never washed anyone's hair before. His rough movements messed up her long hair and caused her scalp to hurt. "If you move again, I'll throw you out. Do you think I like to bathe stray dogs?" Stray dogs? Although Xia Dong hadn't bathed for a week because of the doctor's advice, she used hot water to wipe her body every day. She shouldn't be as dirty as a stray dog, right? Xia Dong was angry. Just as she was about to speak, the smell of the shampoo entered her nose. She protested uncomfortably, "Oh, wait a minute, the water went into my nose again." Bailey Han finally relaxed his grip on her neck. He lifted her up and stared at her with an unfriendly expression. "Next, do you want to do it yourself, or should I do it?" The next step was to take a bath. Of course, she would do it herself. Xia Dong hugged her chest. "Get out, I'll do it myself." Bailey Han glanced at her disdainfully and said lightly, "Don't worry, I'm not interested in you." "Humph, that's good. Then I'm safe." Walking out of the bathroom, Bailey Han's lips curved upwards. Even he didn't notice it. Xia Dong exhaled. Looking at her sorry self in the mirror, she realized that she had been tricked. She still obeyed his order and took a shower. What an annoying guy. The annoying Bailey Han didn't give her any clothes and let her go out with only a towel wrapped around her. After Xia Dong finished her shower, she dawdled in the bathroom for more than 10 minutes before calling out awkwardly, "Hey, Bailey Han." Hearing no response, Xia Dong scratched her wet hair in frustration. She knew that she shouldn't have counted on that cold man. "What's the matter?" A cold and calm voice suddenly sounded at the bathroom door. Xia Dong was afraid that he would turn and leave. Ignoring the awkwardness, she quickly said, "Can you help me get my clothes?" There was no response again, and she heard footsteps leaving. Beauty novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 28. Xia Dong rolled her eyes. How could she count on that vile man? She was so stupid. She gritted her teeth. So what if it was a bath towel? She wasn't revealing anything. After mentally preparing herself, Xia Dong wrapped the bath towel around herself and walked out of the bathroom cautiously. Like a thief, she crept towards the changing room. After taking a few steps, she saw Bailey Han walking out of the changing room with a bathrobe. Bailey Han looked coldly at Xia Dong. She was wrapped in a bath towel from head to toe. The bath towel covered her chest and thighs, revealing a large area of fair skin. Her wet hair was still dripping, sliding down her beautiful neck and into the mysterious cleavage on her chest. For the first time, he realized that she had a great figure. Xia Dong uncomfortably tightened the bath towel and laughed dryly. "Thank you for helping me get my clothes." Bailey Han's eyes flickered and he casually threw the bathrobe over. Xia Dong reflexively reached out to catch it, and a tragedy happened. Because her movement was too big, the bath towel around her loosened and slid down her chest. Xia Dong hurriedly covered her private parts with the bathrobe and glared fiercely at Bailey Han. "Bailey Han, you did it on purpose." Although it was just a flash, Bailey Han still caught a glimpse of her snowy breasts. His cheeks were slightly hot and slightly red, but the exasperated Xia Dong did not notice. He quickly coughed to cover it up. "You think too highly of yourself. There's nothing to see." He had only thrown it out of habit and did not expect such a coincidental thing to happen. Xia Dong glanced at the only king in the room. She glanced at Bailey Han, who was walking out of the bathroom in a bathrobe, and consciously picked up the blanket. "I'll sleep on the sofa. You sleep on the bed." Bailey Han did not say anything and looked at her as if this was how it should be. Xia Dong pursed her lips. She covered herself with the blanket and lay down on the sofa to sleep. Fortunately, the sofa in the presidential suite was big and soft enough to sleep comfortably. Moreover, she was very tired and did not recognize the bed. Soon, she fell asleep. When Xia Dong woke up in a daze, Bailey Han walked out of the bathroom. He was wrapped in a bath towel to cover his private parts. His upper body was bare, and his hair was still dripping wet. The water droplets slowly slid down his muscular chest until they soaked into the bath towel and disappeared at the edge of his private parts. Xia Dong did not expect to see such a scene as soon as she opened her eyes. Her cheeks flushed red. Bailey Han, on the other hand, was very calm and composed. He casually sat on the sofa opposite her and wiped his messy wet hair. His voice had the hoarseness unique to the morning. Why? Haven't you seen enough? If the person being stared at was not shy, why should she be? Xia Dong pushed the blanket to the side and stood up abruptly. She deliberately looked him up and down, and finally snorted in disdain. There's nothing to look at. Your skin is so white, and you don't look manly at all. Dark skin is what I call sexy. Bailey Han's hand paused in the middle of drying his hair. Xia Dong's mood suddenly brightened up. She hummed a song and went to the bathroom to wash up. Kuta Beach was the most beautiful beach in Bali. The soft white sand and the blue sea washed over the beach. Beauties in bikinis were in groups, laughing and chatting. Xia Dong was wearing a tank top and shorts. She was lying on the deck chair under the umbrella, drinking coconut juice leisurely. Looking at the snow-white legs of the foreign beauties, it was a beautiful visual pleasure. Wow, he's so handsome. Everyone, look, that Asian man has a good figure. His abs. Xia Dong raised her eyebrows and looked in the direction of the most lively crowd. A group of foreign beauties surrounded a man lying flat on the beach, complimenting him non-stop. The Asian man they were looking at was Bailey Han. Bailey Han was lying flat on the beach with sunglasses on. His upper body was naked and he was wearing a pair of beach shorts. His strong chest muscles were well-defined and shone seductively under the sun. Sir, can I buy you a drink? Oh, a bold beauty came forward to invite him. Xia Dong craned her neck to watch a good show. Bailey Han was quite good at pretending. He was now a gentleman again. He politely rejected the beauty's invitation. However, after rejecting one person, another one popped up. By the time he had rejected more than 10 people in a row, his expression had turned ugly. Xia Dong, who had been silently observing him, couldn't help but burst out laughing. Bailey Han's cold gaze swept over. Xia Dong was not afraid of him. She raised her chin provocatively. Mr. Bailey, your charm is boundless. In just 1 hour, so many beauties have fallen for your beach shorts. Bailey Han's cold lips slowly curved. He said indifferently, at least it proves that their taste is much better than yours. No wonder this guy suddenly wanted to sunbathe. It turned out that he was still brooding over her evaluation in the morning. He was using facts to prove to her that he was very manly and very popular with women. Xia Dong rolled her eyes at him. Boring. Childish. Bailey Han's face suddenly darkened. He realized that his behavior was really as that annoying woman had said. It was very childish and boring. Why did he care about that woman's opinion? He even wanted to tan his skin. He was crazy, he must be crazy. The Uluwatu Cliffs were located at the southernmost tip of Bali. Behind it was a poignant love tragedy. Legend had it that there was a young man and woman who fell in love with each other. Their love did not receive any blessings, and in despair, they both jumped into the sea to commit suicide. Xia Dong stood at the edge of the cliff and looked at the turbulent sea below her. She listened to the private tour guide talk about the legend of the cliff. She could not help but sigh. The tragedy caused by the wrong family did not have a national boundary. Bailey Han looked at Xia Dong standing at the edge of the cliff. Her hair was blown by the sea breeze, and her delicate body looked like it would fall at any time. He frowned slightly. Damn it, did she not know that it was dangerous to stand at the edge of the cliff? Hearing the footsteps behind her, Xia Dong turned around and saw Bailey Han's dark face. He seemed to be very unhappy. She nervously stretched out her arm. Don't come so close to me. What if you accidentally push me off the cliff? Bailey Han was very, very angry. He was crazy to care about this idiot. Do you have a brain? Come here. He angrily stretched out his arm to pull her. Go away, I'll go there myself. After he pushed her away last time, she did not trust him anymore. It was so high here. If he suddenly changed his mind and threw her away, then she would be dead. Bailey Han felt a deep sense of defeat. He looked at her deeply. Do whatever you want. He turned around and left. Young master is very angry, Ling Shui calmly expressed her thoughts as she held Xia Dong's arm and led her to a safe place. I know, but why should I look at his face? Why should I please him? She did not go to Bali with him willingly. She was also very angry to see his cold face every day. Bailey Han went down the mountain in anger, and Du Bing followed him. Only Xia Dong, Ling Shui and the tour guide Brenda were left on the mountain. Xia Dong was very satisfied with the situation. Without the annoying people, the scenery looked much more beautiful. When they were halfway down the mountain, Xia Dong suddenly heard intermittent gunshots. Ling Shui nervously stood in front of her to protect her. Brenda panicked and shouted, "Gunshots, gunshots. It's terrible. There must be a gunfight. We have to go down the mountain quickly." Xia Dong was also very nervous, but she calmed down when she saw Ling Shui's serious face. She comforted Brenda. Don't be nervous. Maybe it's just a hunter's gunshot. As soon as she finished speaking, Brenda pointed at the woods in the distance and screamed, "Ah, what's wrong?" Xia Dong looked in the direction of her finger. About 50 meters away from them, there were several men in black suits lying on the ground, and there was a big pool of blood under them. Don't scream. Ling Shui quickly covered Brenda's mouth and said calmly, "Brenda, you go first." She had to protect Xia Dong and didn't have the energy to take care of others. Brenda knew that Xia Dong was pregnant and couldn't move freely. If she followed them, she might be dragged down. She said, "God bless you," and ran down the mountain. The gunshots came from the southwest, about 500 meters away from here. Let's go in this direction. Whether it was a gunfight or not, it was better to stay away from them. Ling Shui led Xia Dong into a forest path. The vegetation in the tropical rainforest was very lush. It was difficult for them to move forward, as they had to be careful of poisonous snakes and spiders that suddenly appeared. As the gunshots gradually faded away, Xia Dong slowly breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, a sharp pain came from her ankle. Her heart tightened and she looked down, only to see a strong and bloody hand tightly grasping her foot. The hand reached out from the bushes. It was obvious that the person was hiding behind the bushes. Xia Dong almost screamed out loud. She covered her mouth tightly and tugged at Ling Shui's arm with her other hand. Ling Shui looked back and saw her strange expression. She frowned and looked in the same direction. Her lips curled into a cold smile, and a sharp light flashed in her eyes. She moved quickly and viciously kicked the wrist that was tightly grasping Xia Dong's ankle. This kick was so sharp that it could definitely break that person's wrist. However, something unexpected happened. The person hiding behind the bushes suddenly reached out his other hand. The hand covered in blood was like a ghost's claw. It was even faster than Ling Shui's kick and accurately grabbed Ling Shui's foot. Ling Shui was stunned. Before she could react, the hand under her foot suddenly pulled hard, causing Ling Shui to fall to the ground. The person behind the bushes suddenly did a backflip and jumped in front of Ling Shui. A pistol had appeared in his hand at some point. He pressed it against her head and said in English, "Don't move." His voice was low and magnetic, with a chilling viciousness. The man was covered in blood. His black clothes were soaked in blood, and his face was stained with blood. It was impossible to see his appearance, but from his deep and cold eyes, one could tell that he was a dangerous cheetah. At the moment when Leng Shui was subdued by him, Xia Dong was very nervous and scared. But now, seeing him injured all over, she calmed down instead. The gunshots in the woods just now were probably aimed at him. Looking at him like this, he must be chased by someone. Since that was the case, they had conditions to negotiate. Xia Dong said calmly, "Don't hurt her. We can help you escape." The man's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Why should I believe you? Come and see." Hongcha 866. Chapter 29. Xia Dong sneered, "You can choose not to believe us and kill us. Then you can just lie here and wait for your death. In addition to the people who are chasing you, there are countless poisonous snakes and spiders here. I think they will like your fresh flesh and blood very much." The man's gaze paused. When he was fighting with the woman on the ground, he had exhausted all his strength. Even if he killed them, he would not have the strength to escape. However, he would not easily believe others. He took out a pill from his pocket and handed it to Xia Dong. "Take this poison. If you dare to play tricks, you will die within 3 days without my antidote." "Okay." Just as Xia Dong bent down to take the pill, a cold light burst out from Leng Shui's eyes. She kicked the man's head with the tip of her right foot. Although the man's attention was on Xia Dong, he did not ignore Xia Dong. He dodged her kick as fast as lightning, but suddenly his head hurt and his vision turned black. He fell to the ground. Before he fainted, he saw a wooden stick in Xia Dong's left hand. "Phew, that was close. Leng Shui, are you okay?" Xia Dong threw away the wooden stick in her hand. She had secretly taken it when the man was fighting with Leng Shui. "I'm fine." Leng Shui jumped up easily and kicked the fainted man on the ground with the tip of her foot. "What about him? Do you want to end him?" "Forget it, let's go down the mountain quickly." Xia Dong looked at the man lying on the ground, motionless. The two walked less than 50 meters away. Xia Dong stopped and called Leng Shui in frustration. "Leng Shui, I must be crazy. I actually feel guilty. He almost killed us, but that doesn't mean we should let him be killed. Quick, find a reason to persuade me to give up that terrible idea." "Sai, forget it, let's go back." Leng Shui looked at Xia Dong, who was in a dilemma. The corner of her mouth twitched, but there was still no expression on her face. "Have you thought it through?" Xia Dong nodded firmly. "We can find a cave and bring him there. At least we can prevent him from being bitten to death by the insect beasts." As a girl born in a harmonious society, she still couldn't bring herself to let that man die there, but she also couldn't be that stupid Mr. Donghua who was eaten by a wolf. The two of them returned to the place where the man had fainted, just in time to see a poisonous snake crawling towards his body. Leng Shui quickly pulled out a dagger and swung it out. The dagger nailed the back of the poisonous snake with a swoosh sound. The snake's tail swayed a few times and stiffly paralyzed on the ground. Xia Dong and Xia Dong supported the man on the left and right and moved forward with difficulty in the dense forest. After walking for a long time, they finally found a cave and threw the man into the cave. Xia Dong sat on the ground and gasped for breath. "You take a rest first. I'll go out and explore." Leng Shui gave her the dagger. "If he suddenly wakes up, use this to deal with him. You'd better keep this. I don't think he will wake up for a while." Leng Shui pulled out another dagger from the small boot on her leg. "You keep this. I have more. I'll be back soon." "Okay, be careful." After Leng Shui left, Xia Dong checked the man's wounds. He was shot in 2 places, one in the chest and one in the leg. The rest of his body was bruised and cut. She sighed. "Although you are very annoying, I can't just watch you die." She cut his clothes into pieces with the dagger and bandaged his wounds. As for the gunshot wounds, only a doctor could deal with them. She took out her mobile phone and contacted Bailey Han. "Damn it, there is no signal. A rainstorm suddenly came. Xia Dong stood at the entrance of the cave, anxiously waiting for Leng Shui to come back. The unconscious man suddenly spoke in Chinese in his sleep. Cold, so cold. Because of his Chinese words, Xia Dong decided to be a good person to the end. It was rare to meet a fellow countryman in a foreign country. She touched the man's forehead. It was so hot. It seemed that he had a fever. She wet the cloth with rainwater and put it on the man's forehead to cool him down. The bloodstains on his face were glaring. Xia Dong wiped them clean with a wet cloth, revealing a pale face, but it did not diminish his handsomeness at all. His tightly shut eyes were faintly discernible under his messy hair. His delicate nose bridge was high, and his thin lips were tightly pursed. Even though his face was as pale as a sheet of paper, it could not conceal his innate domineering aura. For some reason, Xia Dong felt that his face looked very familiar, as if she had seen it somewhere before. The sound of footsteps interrupted Xia Dong's thoughts. It was Leng Shui. She was soaking wet and dragging a dead snake. There was a touch of helplessness on her face. The rain won't stop for a while. It seems that we will have to stay in the cave for a night. Leng Shui was indeed a special forces soldier. She was very good at survival in the wild. She used the man's gun to shoot at the withered grass and branches. The withered grass immediately lit up and a fire was started. She skinned the dead snake with a dagger and roasted it over the fire with branches. This was their dinner tonight. Xia Dong could not help, so she was busy taking care of the man. She also made a fire beside him. The light of the fire shone on his pale face. The more she looked at him, the more familiar he was. She frowned and thought for a while, but still could not figure out who he was. What's the matter? They haven't come back yet? In the Sunshine Coast Hotel, Bailey Han frowned and looked at the respectful hotel manager in front of him. He went back to the hotel in a fit of anger. He did not expect that Xia Dong had not come back in the afternoon. Yes, we have been trying to get in touch with Miss Xia, but we have not succeeded. In the face of strong pressure, the manager's head was covered with cold sweat. Gather all the security guards and bodyguards of the hotel and search the mountain immediately. Bailey Han strode out. Du Bing hurriedly followed him, and at the same time, used the walkie-talkie to ask the driver to prepare the car. The car quickly drove to the foot of the mountain. Everyone was divided into groups of 3 to search in different directions. Bailey Han and Du Bing were in groups of 2, wearing raincoats and holding flashlights, going up the slope. The soil under their feet was relatively primitive. It had not been modified by anyone. The soil here was particularly soft. The slope was covered with about an inch of fallen leaves. Bailey Han moved forward with great difficulty. The rain washed away all the traces, making it more difficult for them to search. 2 hours later, there was still no news of Xia Dong. Bailey Han was burning with anxiety. He had heard from the locals that the primitive rainforest was very dangerous at night. Poisonous insects and fierce beasts would appear. In addition, it was raining heavily now. He did not know whether they were safe or not. In the cave, Xia Dong changed a wet cloth for the injured man from time to time. Leng Shui sat by the fire and focused on roasting the snake meat. The snake meat gradually emitted a fragrance. Like magic, she took out a bottle of salt and 5 spices from the bag around her waist and sprinkled them on the snake meat. The meat's fragrance was even stronger. I didn't expect you to be so well prepared. Xia Dong took the snake meat she had cut and praised. I'm used to it. When I was on a mission, I also survived in the wild for half a month. Since then, I have developed the habit of carrying spices with me. This was the first time Leng Shui mentioned her own experience. The two were indeed hungry and focused on eating. Leng Shui's chewing suddenly stopped and looked around vigilantly. She lowered her voice and said, "Did you hear something?" Xia Dong also stopped chewing because she also heard a sizzling sound coming from behind 2 big rocks in the cave. Then, the sizzling sound was accompanied by the sound of something hitting the ground. The sound was not loud, but it was very clear. Xia Dong and Leng Shui both stared at the two big rocks with all four eyes. Several green lights flashed from behind the big rocks. Leng Shui threw away the snake meat and pulled out a burning stick with both hands at the same time. She stuffed one of them into Xia Dong's hand and shouted, "Go to the entrance of the cave." Before they could see what appeared, Xia Dong was pushed away by Leng Shui. Leng Shui held the fire stick in one hand and picked up the man lying on the ground with the other. They followed her to the entrance of the cave. Leng Shui raised her leg and kicked the fire away. The burning wood scattered in all directions, forming a protective barrier in front of the three of them. Xia Dong saw clearly that what crawled out from behind the big rocks was a dense swarm of black spiders. When they crawled to the front of the burning stick, they finally stopped and gathered together to gnaw on the snake meat on the ground. The sound of spiders gnawing on the snake meat was hair-raising. Leng Shui looked at the group of spiders with a cold face. They are black widows, the most terrible spiders in the tropical rainforest. If they bite you, you will die very quickly. Xia Dong shivered. The firewood won't last long. We have to escape. These spiders were very fast. A few of them had already crawled along the stone wall and were eyeing Xia Dong and Leng Shui covetously. Leng Shui looked at the man lying on her shoulder. "I'm not sure if we can take him with us." "No, we can't throw him away," Xia Dong shouted almost reflexively. His face was so familiar. Maybe he was someone she knew before. She couldn't do that. She stepped forward to support the man. "I'll take him. You cover us." A wounded man and a pregnant woman. Leng Shui had to take care of them while dealing with the spiders. The three of them supported each other out of the cave. Leng Shui threw the torch in her hand to the place where the firewood was piled up. Wisps of white smoke drifted out of the cave. "Young master, there's a fire over there." Du Bing looked around with the night vision binoculars and suddenly shouted excitedly. "Call a few more people over." Bailey Han's heart trembled. Regardless of how difficult the road was, he rushed in the direction Du Bing pointed. Xia Dong, where are you?" Bailey Han's voice was particularly clear in the rainy night. Leng Shui supported Xia Dong with one hand and carried the wounded man with the other. She groped forward in the rainy night. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. "Miss Xia, it's young master's voice." Xia Dong also heard it and shouted excitedly, "Bailey Han, I'm here." "Bailey Han." "Young master, they're over there." "Xia Dong, don't move. We'll be there soon." Bailey Han practically sprinted over. The raincoat on his body had already been torn by the branches and did not provide any shelter from the rain. His hair and clothes were all wet, and he looked extremely pathetic. However, this did not affect his domineering aura. "You idiot. You followed the tour guide all the way and got lost. Calling you an idiot is flattering you. You're a single-celled animal. You don't have such a high-level thing as a brain." Bailey Han scolded Xia Dong in one breath. Awesome novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 30. Xia Dong's nose twitched. They had encountered so many dangers along the way, but she didn't cry. But hearing his continuous scolding, she suddenly felt scared and wronged. Tears trickled down her cheeks. Bailey Han then noticed how embarrassed Xia Dong was. Her coat was torn, and there were scratches on her arms and cheeks. "Idiot." He scolded again, took off his coat and put it on Xia Dong's head rudely, trying to block the pouring rain. Then he bent down and picked her up. "You guys, go and help Leng Shui." "Yes, young master." 3 or 4 bodyguards rushed up and helped Leng Shui carry the injured man. Xia Dong looked at Bailey Han, who was soaked like a drowned rat. She felt indescribably conflicted. She stretched out her arm and pulled the coat, trying to cover him with it. Bailey Han lowered his head and glared at her fiercely. "Stay here obediently." "Okay." Xia Dong withdrew her hand timidly. Several bodyguards wanted to come over and help Bailey Han, but Bailey Han refused. He personally carried her and staggered down. Leng Shui was supported by Du Bing and slowly moved down. The group of people dawdled for nearly an hour before they finally arrived at the foot of the mountain safely. Bailey Han bent down and put Xia Dong in the back seat of the car. The cold rain took away a lot of her body heat. Feeling her trembling, Bailey Han said to the driver in the front seat, "Take off your clothes." Among them, only the driver's clothes were still dry because he had been in the car all the time. The driver Gigai took off his shirt. "Turn your head and close your eyes. Don't peek." Bailey Han didn't think it was enough. He put down the curtain in the car, completely separating the driver's seat from the back of the car. Bailey Han began to take off Xia Dong's clothes. "Hey, what do you want to do?" Xia Dong hurriedly hugged her chest. Bailey Han slapped her arm angrily. "You still want to wear wet clothes? Hurry and put it on for me. You turn around, close your eyes, and don't peek." Xia Dong repeated his orders to the driver. Bailey Han's face darkened and he turned his head away. Xia Dong turned around and carefully peeked at him. Seeing that he wasn't peeking, she hurriedly took off her soaked clothes and put on the chauffeur's shirt. When they returned to the hotel, Bailey Han bent down, put his arm under Xia Dong's legs and picked her up. Ignoring her protests, he said in a cold voice full of dignity and anger, "Don't resist." As he walked through the lobby, he turned around and ordered, "Call the doctor." The lobby manager took the order and ran away. Xia Dong's injuries weren't serious. She only had abrasions on her arms and cheeks. The doctor carefully checked for internal injuries. The child in her belly was also fine. Xia Dong sat on the bed uneasily and carefully observed Bailey Han's livid face. After the doctor finished, she said carefully, "Bailey Han, can you let the doctor take a look at the injured man?" Bailey Han glared at her. "You care about him a lot. Are you complaining that he didn't kill you with one shot?" On the way back, Xia Dong had already told him about the accident on the way back and how the mysterious man had threatened them with a gun. No, we have to go all the way. Besides, he seems to be from China." After all, Xia Dong was in the wrong and knew when to give in. She blinked her eyes and said, "If he dies here, we won't be able to explain it. Why don't we save his life? Maybe he has a powerful background and will repay you when he wakes up, right?" The words of repayment were pure nonsense. With Bailey Han's power, he didn't care at all. But looking at her pitiful expression, he felt a little curious. For some reason, his heart softened. He suppressed his anger and ordered the doctor, "Take a look at that man." Bailey Han went to the bathroom with a cold face to adjust the temperature of the water. He took a bathrobe and threw it to Xia Dong. "The water is ready. Go and take a bath." Xia Dong held the bathrobe and looked at Bailey Han as if he was an alien. God, the noble young master actually condescended to run the bathwater for her. Was she dizzy and didn't see clearly? The expression on Xia Dong's face successfully angered someone. Bailey Han's face darkened. "Why are you still standing there? Do you need me to carry you in and take a bath for you?" No, I'll go in right away." Xia Dong was afraid that he would suddenly change his mind and drag her into the bathroom to shower her with hot water again. She quickly ran into the bathroom with the bathrobe. After she took her time to take a bath and dry her hair, Bailey Han had already taken a bath and changed his clothes. He was waiting in the living room with something in his hand. "Come here." "Ah." Bailey Han didn't have the patience to wait for her to be in a daze. He walked over and dragged her to the sofa. He pressed her down and placed her arm flat on the back of the sofa. He took a cotton swab full of ointment and helped her apply it. Xia Dong lowered her head with a red face and desperately held down the bathrobe that was almost exposed. "Does it hurt?" Xia Dong was stunned. "Huh?" Bailey Han looked up with a cold gaze. "Let me ask you, does the wound hurt?" Xia Dong shivered and whispered, "It hurts. It hurts a lot." He sneered. I thought you didn't know pain. You know pain, but you still want to show off? Why did you save that man? He's so pitiful. Pitiful? Why would a pitiful man point a gun at your head? He didn't point at me. He pointed at Leng Shui. Almost. As if to punish her, Bailey Han suddenly stuck the cotton swab on her wound. It hurt so much that she gasped for air and tears were about to fall from her eyes. She was obviously in pain, but she didn't cry out in pain. Bailey Han's anger dissipated when he saw her pitiful big eyes full of tears. His actions also became gentle, but the words that came out of his mouth were still vicious. Next time you try to be brave, you'll be fed to the spiders. Oh. What do you mean, oh? Don't do that again. Bailey Han began to get angry again. This woman, why did she look so stupid? Did she really understand what he said? I know. I won't try to be brave anymore. If I meet dangerous people again, I'll definitely run. If I can't run, I'll fight. Anyway, I can't sympathize with bad people. Seeing that someone was starting to get angry again, Xia Dong quickly raised her hand and promised. Bailey Han's face looked a little better. The mysterious man who was picked up by Xia Dong and Leng Shui finally woke up. In the words of the doctor, the bullet was only a few millimeters away from entering his lungs. Coupled with the fact that he didn't get resuscitation in time and was drenched in the rain, it was a miracle that he could survive. The man's face was still very pale, but this didn't affect his handsomeness. His gaze swept across Bailey Han and finally landed on Xia Dong. Did you save me? He spoke in English. Xia Dong smiled and replied in Chinese, you should be glad that you didn't shoot Leng Shui and me. Otherwise, you would have gone to see the King of Hell. The man's good-looking eyebrows moved slightly. There was a hint of inquiry in his deep eyes. He replied in Chinese, you're from China. That's right. That's why you should be glad that you're from China. Otherwise, you wouldn't be alive now. If he wasn't from China, he would have been abandoned when the spiders attacked them. The man's lips slowly curled up. His voice was still cold. I'm only half China. My mother is from China. Speaking of his mother, there was a hint of warmth in his eyes. Thank you. My name is Mika Kido. Mika Kido, the young master of the Senku group in Japan. Nice to meet you. Bailey Han sat opposite him calmly. Bailey Han had a habit of not keeping people with unknown identities by his side. That night, he ordered someone to investigate Mika Kido's identity. Mika Kido's eyes were sharp. You are? Bailey Han. So you're the young master of the Bailey family. Nice to meet you. The Bailey family was very influential in both the underworld and the underworld. It was hard for Mika Kido not to know. The two equally outstanding men stared at each other. One was domineering and cold, while the other was ruthless and sharp. The powerful aura made Xia Dong feel pressured. She coughed and joked, even if you fell in love at first sight, you should consider the situation first. Mr. Beitang, you're injured. You shouldn't be too agitated. Bailey Han was expressionless. Mika Kido gave him face and smiled. Miss, I was rude in the rainforest. I'm sorry. Xia Dong waved her hand. My name is Xia Dong. You can just call me by my name. Since they had already talked about it, she was not a petty person. She winked and joked. The situation was urgent. It's normal for you to be vigilant. I should thank you for being merciful. Bailey Han's face darkened when he saw that they seemed to be on good terms. Young Master Beitang, you seem to be recovering well. I'm sure your people must be worried about you after so long. It was obvious that he wanted them to leave. Mika Kido smiled. Then I'll have to trouble young Master Bailey to help me contact my subordinates. Bailey Han nodded proudly and turned to Xia Dong. Let's go. Xia Dong said awkwardly. I still have something to ask Mr. Beitang. Can you give me a few more minutes? Bailey Han looked at her coldly and turned to leave. Mr. Beitang, have we met before? Xia Dong asked straightforwardly. Mika Keto smiled apologetically. I've met someone as unique as Miss Xia once. I'll definitely remember. I see. Then I won't disturb your rest. Xia Dong was a little disappointed. Mika Keto casually gave her a number. This is my private number. I'm on standby 24/7. If you run into any trouble in the future, you can call me at any time. This was his way of repaying her for saving his life. It seemed that this man was not too bad. Xia Dong smiled brightly. I'll remember it. Have a good rest. Mika Keto's subordinates soon arrived. More than a dozen men in black suits and sunglasses appeared in the hotel lobby. They all had cold and serious expressions, which made people stop in their tracks. Although Xia Dong didn't know what Beitangshan had encountered, he could guess that Beitangshan's situation wasn't very good when he saw that his subordinates were heavily protecting him. Before leaving, he sincerely wished Beitangshan a speedy recovery. Mika Keto smiled. His handsome face was very charming. He made a phone call gesture. Xia Dong, goodbye. At that moment, Xia Dong did not know that the man named Mika Keto would occupy such an important position in her life in the future. A long time later, Xia Dong found out that Mika Keto's father, the former head of the Sanka group, died in an accident in Bali. As the first successor, Mika Keto went to Bali to pick up his body, but was attacked by the other elders of the group. If it were not for her kindness, the Sanka group would have had a change of dynasty. Attention, Songshu 566. Chapter 31. The old madam was very pleased. She found that ever since the trip to Bali, Bailey Han and Xia Dong's relationship had eased a lot. Although the two of them were still lukewarm when they met, at least they began to talk and no longer ignored each other. The old madam struck while the iron was hot and ordered Bailey Han to personally drive Xia Dong to and from work. After work, Xia Dong stood at the roadside waiting for Bailey Han. Soon, Bailey Han appeared in his Maybach with Su Xingchen sitting in the passenger seat. Su Xingchen was wearing a cute dress and sweetly greeted, Sister Xiao Xia, long time no see. Have you been busy recently? Xia Dong had a good impression of this innocent and cute girl. She smiled and replied, Miss Su, long time no see. You're getting more and more beautiful. Ah, sister, you're too good with words. I'm so happy. Su Xingchen jumped up and grabbed her arm. Sister Xiao Xia, you don't have to be so polite. Just call me Xingchen. Xingchen, why are you here today? Xia Dong let her pull her to sit in the back seat. Su Xingchen sighed in annoyance. My luck is too bad. The car broke down, so I asked Brother Bailey to give me a ride. The annoyance on her face suddenly disappeared, and her eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. Oh right, Sister Xiao Xia, you must not know, right? I'm currently interning at Brother Bailey's company. I'm his assistant secretary now. Is that so? Congratulations. Xia Dong knew that she liked Bailey Han. Now that she was working at Bailey Han's company, it was easier for her to get close to him. Thank you. So, to celebrate, I'll treat you and Brother Bailey to a meal, okay? Su Xingchen's bright eyes were full of anticipation. This. Xia Dong looked at Bailey Han awkwardly. She couldn't bear to reject her. I don't have any objections. Brother Bailey, please, please. Come with us. All right. Bailey Han was getting a headache from Su Xingchen's pestering, so he could only agree. He glared at Xia Dong through the rearview mirror. His meaning was obvious. He was very angry at her for acting on her own initiative. After the three of them finished dinner at a high-class Western restaurant, Bailey Han sent Su Xingchen home first. Su Xingchen got out of the car outside the Su family's villa and waved sweetly at them. Brother Bailey, Sister Xiao Xia, goodbye. Be careful on the road. The car turned and disappeared. Su Xingchen skipped forward, one hand swinging a small leather bag while the other dialed a number. Smiling innocently, he said, "They've already left. Let's proceed with the original plan." In order to avoid being noticed, Xia Dong asked Bailey Han to drop her off at the end of a street in advance. Although the sky was already dark, she still didn't want her family to see her and have any ideas. She got off the car early. There was no one on the street. Under the dim streetlights, she was the only one walking slowly. She had been walking this road for more than 10 years. Xia Dong was already used to it and wasn't afraid at all. But she didn't expect that when she turned the corner, two strange men would suddenly appear in front of her and block her way. "Yo, this little girl is really beautiful. We brothers are really lucky today." "Yeah, Ming, this little girl is really beautiful. Miss, please come with us. Don't come any closer. If you come any closer, I'll shout for help." Xia Dong turned around and wanted to run away. But she didn't know when, but two men had blocked her way. "Hee, let's see where you can run to." The two men in front and the two men behind blocked Xia Dong from all sides. One of the men who looked like a boss grinned with yellow teeth. He said with a wretched smile, "Why are you still talking so much nonsense with her? Just knock her out and carry her away. Get lost, all of you get lost." Xia Dong swung her bag and crazily hit the four men. The bag hit one of the men's head. That man cried out, "Ouch," and held his head. Xia Dong used this as an opportunity to push him away and desperately ran forward. While running, she shouted, "Help, help." It was already past 10 o'clock, and there were no pedestrians on the street. Even the surrounding shops were all closed. Xia Dong ran wildly on the empty street, and behind her were the four ferocious men. "D*MN woman, don't run. When I catch you, I'll F*CK you to death. Damn it." The curses mixed with filthy language were getting closer and closer. Xia Dong ran non-stop. Her heart was pounding in her chest. But suddenly, she felt a pain in her abdomen. There was also a warm current flowing down from her body. She didn't dare to run anymore. She held her abdomen in fear. The four men quickly surrounded her again. "Bitch, let's see where you can run to. Aya, this woman is really beautiful. Catch her for me. I'll go first." After the wretched man who looked like a boss finished speaking, the other three men grabbed her hands and feet. The boss anxiously reached for her chest. His big hands tore open her clothes and his stinky mouth moved towards her cheek. Xia Dong dodged with difficulty. Because of the pain and fear, her voice trembled. "Please let me go. I'm pregnant." Someone with sharp eyes saw the blood between her legs. "Hey, boss, why is she bleeding?" "She must have had a miscarriage." "That's good. I don't have to do it anymore." The boss angrily pushed her away and snatched her satchel. Someone even snatched the necklace around her neck. Xia Dong covered her abdomen and lay on the ground. She was in so much pain that her whole body was trembling. She no longer had the strength to resist and could only watch as they ran further and further away. "Help, help." Because of the pain, her voice was very soft and soon dissipated into the night sky. Just as she lost consciousness, she saw a beam of headlights shining on her body. A tall figure walked out of the car. Bailey Han found that Xia Dong had left her phone in his car. He turned the car around to send her back. He didn't expect to see her lying on the ground covered in blood. Her clothes and hair were in a mess. She looked battered and exhausted. His heart skipped a beat. He actually had an uncontrollable panic. He quickly carried her into the car. On the way to the hospital, his hands holding the steering wheel were trembling slightly. He anxiously sat on the bench in the corridor of the hospital. His eyes were fixed on the indicator light of the operating room. This was the first time he felt anxious and uneasy. His hands were still stained with her blood. He began to feel confused. Didn't he never want to keep the child? Why was it that when he saw her covered in blood, the first thing he thought of was to save her? Xia Xia, Xia Xia, Xia Dong's aunt, Xia Yun, and uncle, Gao Mingyuan, anxiously ran over. Xia Yun and her husband didn't know Bailey Han, but Bailey Han knew them. After he sent Xia Dong to the hospital, he called them to explain the situation. Mr. Gao, Mrs. Gao, don't worry. Xia Dong is now in emergency treatment. Gao Mingyuan looked at the man in front of him and stretched out his hands to express his gratitude. You must be Mr. Bailey. Thank you for sending Xia Dong to the hospital. Bailey Han politely shook his hand. Xia Dong and I are friends. It's just a small matter. The operation won't be over for a while. Please sit down and rest for a while. After some time, the door of the operating room finally opened. The doctor smiled and said, Young Master Bailey, please don't worry. Miss Xia is fine. The child is also saved. By child? When Xia Yun heard this explosive news, her eyes rolled back and she fainted. Bailey Han hurriedly called the doctor to check on her. Only then did he realize that Xia Dong hadn't told her family about her pregnancy. Now, he had made a fool of himself. Xia Yun slowly woke up. The first thing she said when she opened her eyes was, Child, what's the matter with the child? Bailey Han told her the truth. Xia Dong is pregnant. The child is mine. What? Xia Yun's face turned pale. She raised her hand and slapped him. 5 red marks instantly appeared on Bailey Han's face. It was obvious that she had used all her strength. She gritted her teeth and said, Is this how a rich young master like you plays with the daughter of a good family? Bailey Han's eyes surged with anger, but he quickly hid it. He said in a low voice, You've misunderstood. It's not what you think. If it's not what it is, then what is it? Are you bullying our Xia Xia because she doesn't have parents? Her father abandoned her when she was young. Her mother passed away when she was very young. She's already so pitiful. How can you be so cruel to play with her feelings and stab her in the heart? Xia Yun pointed at his nose and shouted, Let me tell you, don't think that you can bully her just because she doesn't have parents. Xia Xia still has us. Even if we have to risk our lives, we will seek justice for her. Bailey Han said patiently, You've really misunderstood. If you don't believe me, you can ask Xia Dong yourself when she wakes up. He was originally angry, but when he heard about Xia Dong's background, he was stunned. He only knew that she lived with her aunt, but he didn't know that she was an orphan. Xia Yun didn't believe him and wanted to refute, but Gao Mingyuan quickly stopped her. All right. You just woke up, so you should rest well. He's right. When Xia Xia wakes up, you can ask her and everything will be clear. What's the rush? The moment Xia Dong opened her eyes, she saw Bailey Han's dark and handsome face. She couldn't help but bite her lower lip when she saw his angry look. You, Bailey Han, why are you here? Bailey Han's eyes were cold. Why didn't you tell your family? Xia Dong was stunned. Huh? Bailey Han raised his hand and pinched her chin. Let me ask you, why didn't you tell your family that you were pregnant? I didn't want them to worry. How was she going to tell her family that a girl who didn't even have a boyfriend suddenly got pregnant? Idiot, are you planning to keep it a secret for the rest of your life? Bailey Han was so angry that he completely released an extremely cold storm. He raised his eyebrows and angrily rebuked a certain someone who was ashamed. Do you know that because you didn't report it, in your family's eyes, I'd become a bastard who plays with women's feelings? Xia Dong lowered her head. I'm sorry. Bailey Han stared at her weak and pale face, his anger slowly subsiding. He forcefully pinched her chin and lifted her face. Now, what do you think we should do? Xia Dong hurriedly reached out her right hand and promised, Don't worry, I'll immediately clear your name and clear your name. Bailey Han, what are you doing? Xiao Xia just woke up and you want to bully her? A furious voice suddenly sounded. Xia Yun was standing at the door of the ward with a thermos box in her hand, her face full of anger. Xia Dong hurriedly said, "Auntie, you've misunderstood. You've really misunderstood. Bailey Han didn't bully me." Beauty novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 32. He didn't bully you? Then why did he pinch your chin just now? Look at him, he's not a good person. Xia Yun angrily rushed over and slammed the insulated box on the table. Bailey Han, get out of my way. I'm warning you, if you harass our little Xia again, I'll call the police immediately. Bailey Han's handsome face had a hint of impatience. His eyes narrowed fiercely and like a sharp blade, they shot toward Xia Dong. The threat in them was very obvious. You're the one who caused this. You're responsible for it. All right, you still dare to threaten our little Xia. Old Gao, you came just in time. Hurry up and call the police. Xia Yun shouted at Gao Mingyuan, who was walking to the door of the ward. Aunt. I'm begging you, please listen to me first. Xia Dong shouted with all his might. His face, which was already very pale, became even more unsightly. All right. Don't be agitated. If you have something to say it slowly. Xia Yun hurriedly supported her and patted her back. Xia Dong took a deep breath and said guiltily, Auntie, it's actually my fault for this. Xia Dong didn't care about losing face and told her everything. After Xia Yun heard it, she almost fainted. If it wasn't for Gao Mingyuan supporting her, she would have fallen to the ground. Xia Yun was devastated. Her eyes were lifeless and even her lips were trembling when she spoke. So, it's all my fault. I forced you too hard, so you did such a ridiculous thing. No, Aunt, this matter has nothing to do with you. I was the one who made a mistake. Xia Yun's tears flowed down. It's my fault, it's all my fault. Sister, I've let you down. It's because I didn't take good care of little Xia that she did such a ridiculous thing. I don't have the face to see you. As she spoke, she raised her hand and started to slap her own face. Xia Dong was so frightened that she rushed forward and hugged her arm. Tears flowed down her face. Aunt, don't be like this. It's my fault. It's my fault. Don't scare me. Gao Mingyuan was also shocked and quickly grabbed Xia Yun's hand. Wife, what are you doing? Don't be agitated, you have high blood pressure. Xia Dong hugged Xia Dong and the two cried together. Gao Mingyuan was busy comforting them. Now that the misunderstanding had been resolved, there was no need for him to stay in Bailey Han. He had to go back to the company to deal with official business. Before he left, he glanced at Xia Dong, who was sobbing in Xia Yun's arms, and frowned slightly. Just as he walked to the elevator, Xia Yun chased after him with red eyes and said shyly, Mr. Bailey, I misunderstood you. I'm sorry. She bowed solemnly. Bailey Han raised his hand to support her. His face was expressionless. It's good that you've made it clear. She just woke up and needs your care. If you need anything, feel free to contact me. Xia Yun nodded gratefully. Little Xia was confused for a moment. Please don't blame her. Don't worry, we won't cause trouble for Bailey's family. Bailey Han only nodded indifferently at her promise. When the elevator door closed and she could no longer see Bailey Han's figure, Xia Yun sighed and frowned. She was pregnant out of wedlock. What was she going to do about little Xia's future? The child was less than 3 months old. It was not too late to abort it, but little Xia seemed to want this child very much. Would she agree to abort the child? Xia Yun sighed again. Xia Yun? A sudden voice interrupted Xia Yun's thoughts. The man in front of her was dressed in a suit and leather shoes. He looked dignified. Although he was already in his 50s, he did not look old at all. His handsome face was filled with joy, doubt, and a complicated expression. Are you really Xia Yun? Xia Yun looked as if she had seen a ghost. Her face turned pale and she took 2 steps back in shock. Xia Jincheng? Xia Jincheng strode forward with a fanatical look in his eyes. Xia Yun, it's great to see you. Tell me, are Xia Ling and Xia Dong doing well? Get out of my way, get out of my way. Xia Yun suddenly hit Xia Jincheng as if she had gone crazy. Her eyes were filled with hatred. You bastard, how dare you appear in front of me and ask about my sister and little Xia? You scum, why don't you go die? Xia Yun, don't be agitated. You, Xia Jincheng dodged her punches and wanted to go forward, but she slapped him in the face. Xia Jincheng, get out of my way. My sister and little Xia don't want to see you. Okay, I'll go. Don't be agitated. I just want to know if they're doing well. Xia Jincheng kept retreating, his eyes full of pleading. Please tell me, are they doing well? Do you have the right to know if they're doing well? From the moment you abandoned them, you no longer have the right to know anything about them. Get the hell out of here, you bastard. Xia Yun hated him to the core. It was this man who abandoned her poor sister and niece 20 years ago. At this moment, she wanted nothing more than to pounce on him and tear him apart. Xia Jincheng still wanted to say something, but a nurse walked over from the end of the corridor and scolded them sternly. What's wrong with you? Why are you making so much noise in the hospital? I'm sorry, Nurse Mississippi. I'll leave now. Xia Yun glared at Xia Jincheng and walked towards Xia Dong's ward without looking back. Xia Jincheng carefully looked in the direction Xia Yun left and politely apologized to the nurse. Then, he walked toward the VIP ward on the other side of the corridor. Only the sound of footsteps could be heard in the corridor. A pink figure flashed out from the wall. Su Xingchen's pair of large eyes blinked, her long eyelashes fluttering like a butterfly's wings. Her jade-like face revealed a pensive expression, which finally turned into a faintly discernible smile. Xia Dong. Xia Dong actually appeared in the conversation between Daddy and that strange woman. What was their relationship? In the VIP ward, Xia Jincheng sat by the bed and was softly talking about something. A gorgeous woman was lying on the bed. Although her face was sickly, it didn't affect her beauty. Her slender eyebrows were proudly raised and her pair of phoenix eyes were smiling as she watched Xia Jincheng, who was chatting with her. Su Xingchen pushed open the door to the ward and saw this scene. She opened her arms and revealed a sweet smile. Daddy, Mommy, surprise. Xingchen, why are you here? Did you skip class again? Xia Jincheng stood up and looked unhappily at his daughter who was bouncing over. Daddy is so annoying. I just miss Mommy. Su Xingchen wrinkled her little nose and made a cute face. She grabbed Su Murong's arm and blinked her large eyes. Mommy, Daddy is yelling at me. Su Murong was the CEO of the Su Corporation and was known as the Iron Lady of the business world. Her methods were cold and ruthless, but in front of her family, she always maintained the image of a good wife and mother. She looked at her husband who had a headache and then looked at her daughter who was pretending to be pitiful. Her lips curved into a smile. Okay, hubby, don't be angry. Skipping class isn't a big deal. That's right. I just miss Mommy. Mommy, does your wound still hurt? It doesn't hurt anymore. It's just a small appendicitis operation. Mommy isn't that delicate. The mother and daughter leaned against each other and chatted happily. Xia Jincheng, who was sitting at the side, frowned. He and his wife had different views on their daughter's education. He hoped that their daughter would study hard and become a good person who could take charge of things. However, his wife had always spoiled their daughter. Sooner or later, their daughter would be spoiled by her. Su family villa. Su Xingchen sneaked into Xia Jincheng's study. Her pair of large eyes rolled around as she muttered to herself, Mommy is so strict with Daddy. How could Daddy have an affair? I must be thinking too much. However, what is the relationship between Daddy and Xia Dong? I must find out. Who knows, there might be some clues hidden in the study. After rummaging through the boxes and cabinets for a long time, she still couldn't find anything useful. She clenched her fists and made a cheering gesture. Her round cheeks revealed a sweet smile. After another round of rummaging, she flipped through almost every book on the bookshelf. However, she still couldn't find anything suspicious. Just as she was about to give up, Su Xingchen accidentally knocked over a book. She bent down to pick it up and suddenly found a place that she hadn't looked. That was under the desk. She squatted down and went under the desk. Sure enough, she found a keyhole under the desk. There was a small wooden box hidden under the desk. There were 2 photos in the box. One of the photos was of a family of 3. The male lead was a young Xia Zhensheng. The female lead was a young and beautiful woman in her 20s. The woman was holding a 3 or 4-year-old little girl in her arms. The other photo was of the little girl alone. She was holding a doll and beaming with joy. On the back of the photo was a line of words, "Happy 4th birthday to Xia Xia baby." Su Xingchen hugged the small wooden box and giggled. Her crisp laughter echoed in the spacious study. As she laughed, her voice carried a sobbing tone. Her tears also fell. Click. The door to the study opened. Xia Zhensheng strode in and suspiciously looked at Su Xingchen, who was squatting under the desk. "Xingchen, why are you hiding under the desk?" Su Xingchen wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and stood up from under the desk. "Pa," she threw the wooden box on the floor. She pointed at the photo on the floor and sternly questioned, "Daddy, you actually betrayed Mommy. Who is the woman in the photo?" Xia Zhensheng's body trembled. He trembled as he picked up the photo on the floor. It was the photo that he had treasured for more than 20 years. Every time he saw these 2 photos, he would be wrapped in deep regret and guilt. However, no matter how guilty he felt, he didn't dare to look for them because he now had a new wife and daughter. It was only in the dead of night that he dared to secretly take out their photos to reminisce about the past. The secret that he had hidden for many years was mercilessly exposed by his daughter. Xia Zhensheng was so ashamed that he couldn't show his face. His hand holding the photo couldn't help but tremble. "Who are they? Who are they?" Su Xingchen hysterically roared. The current her didn't have the slightest shadow of the Gigai girl she used to be. Xia Zhensheng closed his eyes and slowly said, "This is my ex-wife and daughter." "No, it can't be. You clearly only have Mommy as your wife. How could you suddenly have an ex-wife and daughter?" "Daddy, you're lying to me, right?" Su Xingchen couldn't believe that her noble Mommy was actually a second wife. Her daddy didn't have any status in the Su family. Even when she was born, she followed her Mommy's surname. He was just an ordinary artist. He was just a down-and-out artist who didn't even have a proud work. How could Mommy marry a divorced man like him? Awesome novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 33. Absolutely impossible. Daddy, that woman in the photo must be your lover outside. That girl is also an illegitimate daughter, isn't that right, Daddy? Su Xingchen shook Xia Zhensheng's arm like a madwoman. She didn't believe it, 1,000 times, 10,000 times. "Xingchen." Xia Zhensheng loudly reprimanded, "Don't talk nonsense, they are indeed my ex-wife and daughter. Then you must have deceived Mommy's feelings. You must have not told Mommy that you divorced and have such a big daughter." Su Xingchen found all kinds of excuses for Su Murong to marry Xia Zhensheng. Xia Zhensheng seemed to have thought of the past and his face became ugly. "Your Mommy knows about my divorce. I have never deceived her." "Impossible, I don't believe it. How could Mommy marry such an incompetent man like you?" Su Xingchen was agitated and actually said what was in her heart. Xia Zhensheng froze as if he had been slapped in the face. His heart was cold and in extreme pain. Su Xingchen realized that she had said the wrong thing and immediately apologized in annoyance. "Daddy, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way." Xia Zhensheng tiredly waved his hand. "What you said is the truth." Although in the eyes of outsiders, he married the daughter of the Su family group and was the son-in-law of the Su family group, and was very bright and beautiful, but only he knew the pain inside. None of the servants of the Su family looked up to him, and they all thought that he was living off a woman. His wife Su Murong's father and brothers looked down on him. He had long been used to it, but he didn't expect that his own daughter would look at him like that. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't sad. But, what could he do even if he was sad? He chose this path himself, so he could only walk it to the end. Daddy, Daddy, don't be angry. I said the wrong thing, Daddy. Su Xingchen hugged Xia Jinqing's arm and acted like a spoiled child. Her sweet voice and gentle smile made the depression in his heart reduce by 2 points. He sighed and stroked her long hair. Xingchen, Daddy doesn't blame you. Don't tell your mommy about the photos. Just treat it as a little secret between us, okay? Su Xingchen was not in a hurry to answer his question. Instead, he blinked, pointed at the little girl in the photo, and asked, Daddy, can I know my sister's name? Xia Jinqing looked at the little girl in the photo, his eyes full of warmth and affection. Her name is Xia Dong. She should be 25 years old this year. Xia Dong, Xia Dong. It really was her. Xia Jinqing's smile carried a hint of coldness, but Xia Jinqing, who was focused on the photo, did not notice it. She only heard her sweet voice, Daddy, I can agree to your request, but Daddy also has to agree to a condition of mine. Daddy, you know that I like Brother Bailey, but recently there's a woman called Xia Dong by Brother Bailey's side. Can you help me chase her away? Xia Jinqing raised his head in disbelief. Su Xingchen's smile became even sweeter. Okay, Daddy. Xingchen, she's your sister. Su Xingchen's smile did not change. She's not my sister. Mommy only gave birth to me as a daughter. If Daddy is not willing, then I can only tell Mommy that you're still hiding the photos of that B*TCH and that bastard child. Xia Jinqing said angrily, Xingchen, you're not allowed to talk about them like that. Su Xingchen pouted pitifully. Daddy, you're actually yelling at me. I'm going to tell Mommy and let her be the judge. No, don't. Xia Jinqing grabbed Su Xingchen who was running out, his expression revealing a trace of panic. Don't tell her. I promise you. Su Xingchen hugged him happily. Daddy, I knew you're the best. There was a knock on the door. Come in. Huh? Xia Dong was slightly startled. The person who appeared at the door of the ward was an unfamiliar man of about 50 years old. He was wearing an expensive suit and his hair was combed neatly. Although he looked old, he did not look old at all. His handsome face even looked somewhat familiar. You are? Xia. After seeing Xia Dong in shock, Xia Jinqing let out a choked voice from his throat. I'm your father. Xia, we haven't seen each other for so many years. Have you ever missed your father? Father? Xia Jinqing? It's actually him. Xia Dong knew that her expression must be quite ugly. Her hands were already clenched into fists as she tried her best to suppress the urge to rush up and beat him up. This man abandoned her and her mother for money. He had never fulfilled his responsibility as a father for even a day. Even when her grandparents passed away, and her mother passed away, leaving her alone and without anyone to depend on, he still did not come to visit her. And now, he suddenly came knocking on her door. She was not that naive. She believed that this man would never visit a temple without a reason. Xia. Xia Jinqing coughed softly and acted as if he was acknowledging a family member. Xia Dong took a deep breath and sneered, Why did you come to my ward? What's the matter? Xia Jinqing's expression was a little awkward. Xia, have you and your mother been well all these years? Xia Dong laughed out loud as if she had heard the funniest joke in the world. She laughed until her eyes were filled with tears. Mother? Are you even worthy of mentioning my mother? Even I find it disgusting to hear her name coming out of your mouth. If there's nothing else, please leave. You're not welcome here. Xia Xia. Xia Zhenxing really did not know how to start talking to her. He really wanted to run away, but his other daughter was waiting for him in Su Murong's ward. She had already said that if he did not return in half an hour, she would tell Su Murong about the photos. Xia Dong looked at him coldly. Mr. Qi, is there anything else? If there's nothing else, please leave. Xia Zhenxing gritted his teeth and finally went all out. Xia Xia, I'm here today to tell you that Xingqian is your sister. She also likes Bailey Han. I hope that you can give her Bailey Han. Xia Dong was shocked at first, then she trembled with anger. This was her good father. He actually talked to her about this kind of thing for the sake of his other daughter. Her fingernails dug deep into her palms. Her heart ached, but her voice was calm. What if I also like Bailey Han? Xia Zhenxing was stunned. Finally, he looked at her with a complicated expression. Xia Xia, I hope that you can live an ordinary life and marry an honest and good person. You can live a peaceful life. Bailey Han is not suitable for you. Xia Dong laughed mockingly. Ha, is that so? Then I have to thank you. Su Xingqian was born into a rich family, so she should marry a rich man. As for me, an orphan abandoned by my father, I should marry an ordinary person. Don't you think I understand that correctly? No, that's not what I meant, Xia Dong interrupted him. You don't have to quibble. Aren't you just trying to make me give up Bailey Han? Let me tell you, I've never thought of marrying Bailey Han. Since your precious daughter likes him, then let her fight for it with her own ability. Why did you come to me? Xia Zhenxing's face was bitter. This matter has nothing to do with Xingqian. I acted on my own accord. Don't blame Xingqian. Uncle, may I take the liberty to ask you a question? Suddenly, a magnetic male voice came from the door, interrupting Xia Zhenxing's words. Xia Dong turned her head and saw a tall young man with short blonde hair. He was wearing a simple white shirt and black trousers. The top two buttons of his shirt were unbuttoned, revealing his chest. His hands were in his trouser pockets, and his fox-like eyes were raised. He didn't look like a good person, but the aura he exuded seemed to have a natural dignity. Xia Zhenxing frowned. Who are you? Bailey Yun's good-looking lips curled into a sneer. Before you ask about my background, I want to ask you, Uncle. Are you sure you haven't encountered any strange incidents like flying saucers recently? Huh? Xia Zhenxing was stunned. It's like this. When I was standing outside the door just now, I accidentally heard you say something very strange. So I wanted to confirm if your brain was removed by aliens and then transplanted with a pig's brain, or if your heart and lungs were removed and replaced with a wolf's heart and dog's lungs. Xia Zhenxing finally realized that he was being sarcastic. He shouted angrily, Hey, where did you come from, you brat? Bailey Yun shrugged and pointed behind his ear with his thumb. From outside. Xia Xia, what's your relationship with this rude brat? Why are you friends with this kind of hooligan? Daddy is telling you, I told you to find an ordinary and good man to marry, not to find a bastard who goes around seducing women. Stay away from him, do you understand? Xia Dong sneered. What right do you have to lecture me? In my eyes, my friend is much nobler than you. He kept saying that others were fooling around, but he didn't know that he was the most shameless one. For money, he fooled around with rich girls and abandoned his wife and daughter. This kind of person wasn't qualified to be her father. Although she didn't want to admit it, Xia Dong still felt very embarrassed that this so-called father had come to her door to lecture her. She looked apologetically at Bailey Yun, who was standing at the door, but he smiled and walked slowly towards her with elegant steps. Uncle, you obviously need some warning to realize how ridiculous the mistake you've made today is. With that said, he took out an expensive diamond-studded phone from his trouser pocket and dialed a number. Is this Principal Wang? Who am I? I'm Bailey Yun. That's right, I'm the second young master of the Bailey Group, Bailey Yun. His voice was neither loud nor soft, but it was loud enough for Xia Zhenxing to hear it clearly. Xia Zhenxing's eyes widened. He didn't expect this hooligan-like brat to be the illegitimate son of Bailey Xiong, who had just returned from abroad. Although he was an illegitimate son, he knew that he was very favored by Bailey Xiong. Bailey Yun's smile was very treacherous. Principal Wang, I called you today to warn you. Please keep teacher Xia Jinqing in your Academy of Fine Arts under control. Don't let this kind of mentally ill person come out to stir up trouble. Otherwise, our Bailey group doesn't mind withdrawing all our investment, demolishing your university, and building a luxurious crematorium there to benefit mankind. After warning him, he put his hands in his trouser pockets coolly. Uncle, if you're not retarded, I think you should understand what I just said over the phone, right? Xia Jinqing was so angry that he didn't choose his words carefully. An illegitimate son is an illegitimate son. You have no manners at all. Don't forget that the Bailey family and the Su family have been friends for generations. You'd better be prepared to explain to your father. Bailey Yun's face darkened. Just as he was about to speak, a cold voice beat him to it. Add Songshu 566. Chapter 34. Bailey's family and the Su family are indeed family friends, but if I remember correctly, the head of the Su family is Auntie Su, and your surname is Xia, right? Bailey Han's tall figure appeared in everyone's sight. His handsome face was expressionless, but the aura he exuded let everyone know that he was in a bad mood, very bad mood. Everyone knew that Xia Jinqing had no status in the Su family. Bailey Han's eyes were full of disdain. In the past, I respected you as an elder and called you Uncle Xia. I didn't expect someone to really think that he was qualified to be someone else's elder. Pointing at everything, he didn't know that in the eyes of others, he was just a clown. What's scary about people is not their lack of ability, but their lack of self-awareness. Xia Jinqing was so embarrassed that his face turned green and white. Brother, you're absolutely right. Bailey Yun raised his eyebrows slightly and stared at Xia Jinqing mockingly. If you're not qualified to be her father, then get lost. From now on, if I see you around Xiaodong again, I will not hesitate to ask the bodyguards to throw you into the trash can and lock you up. Xia Jinqing was ridiculed to the point of being unable to show his face. Bailey Han frowned. Why aren't you leaving? Are you waiting for us to treat you to a meal? Xia Jinqing glanced at Xiaodong awkwardly. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. He turned around and fled in a panic. Bailey Han and Bailey Yun simultaneously locked their eyes on Xiaodong, who had an ugly smile on her face. Xiaodong touched her nose, trying to hide her sadness. My father is terrible, right? As soon as she finished speaking, she was pulled into a tight embrace by a pair of slender and strong arms. Bailey Yun supported the back of her head with his big hand and rested his chin on her shoulder. His voice was gentle and magnetic. Xia, we can't choose our own birth, but we can choose our own lives. Xiaodong desperately nodded her head as all the sadness welled up in her heart. Her pretense of not caring collapsed in an instant. If you want to cry, then cry. Cry it out. Bailey Yun gently stroked her back. Xiaodong's tears instantly gushed out and she sobbed softly in his arms. He didn't say anything and just hugged her even tighter. The two of them seemed to be immersed in their own world and had completely forgotten that Bailey Han was still in the ward. Bailey Han's deep eyes were fixed on Xiaodong, who was being held tightly by Bailey Yun's arms. Their intimacy was really infuriating. Even when he heard Xia Jinqing's words to Xiaodong and wanted to kill him, he wasn't as angry as he was now. He couldn't stay any longer. If he stayed any longer, he wouldn't be able to hold back his anger. He strode out of the ward and slammed the door loudly. Xiaodong came back to her senses and awkwardly retreated from Bailey Yun's arms. Thank you. I want to take a walk downstairs. I'll accompany you. Bailey Yun considerately took her coat and helped her put it on. In the ladies' washroom at the end of the hospital corridor. In a certain toilet, Su Xingchen used a dagger to fiercely stab at a photo. The person in the photo had already been stabbed full of holes, especially the face, which had been slashed one after another. It was simply impossible to see the original appearance of the person. When Xia Jinxing returned in failure, Su Xingchen hid in the washroom and used the dagger to stab Xia Dong's photo, but the corners of her lips curled up. Sister Xiao Xia, don't worry. I'll definitely treat you well. The entire photo was cut into pieces. She smiled sweetly and threw the pieces into the toilet. The toilet flushed and took everything away with it. Su Xingchen saw two women holding fruit baskets and standing in front of Xia Dong's ward. One of them said, "Sisterly, the chief editor is talking about ward 507, right? Why isn't there anyone there?" The other one pursed her lips. Who knows? The chief editor is also too much. She just had to ask us to visit her. Look at her. Her body is as strong as a bull. How could she be sick just like that? She must be pretending to be sick to avoid the mission of going to the disaster area to interview. These two people were Xia Dong's colleagues, Luo Shi and Chen Li. The two of them were caught on the spot because they were gossiping about Xia Dong's matters. She even gave them a small punishment. From then on, the two of them formed a grudge with Xia Dong. Especially Chen Li. She entered the company with Xia Dong, but her ability was not as good as hers. Driven by envy, jealousy, and hatred, she always found trouble with Xia Dong. Two beautiful sisters, are you here to visit Sister Xia Dong? The two of them turned around and saw a girl in a pink doll dress. She had a bright smile on her beautiful face and was as pure and cute as a princess. At first glance, it made people have a good impression of her. Chen Li was moved by her beautiful sister and revealed a smile. Yes, little sister. Do you know Xia Dong? Su Xingchen blinked. Yes, Sister Xiao Xia is the god-granddaughter of Grandma Bailey. We have a very good relationship. Luo Shi asked curiously, who is Grandma Bailey? Grandma Bailey is Brother Bailey's grandmother. Su Xingchen frowned and her delicate nose wrinkled. This sister will definitely ask who Brother Bailey is again. My Brother Bailey was even on the cover of Shangmei magazine last month. Luo Shi and Chen Li looked at each other. Their eyes widened and they saw disbelief in each other's eyes. In the end, Chen Li held on to her last glimmer of hope and carefully confirmed, little sister, are you talking about the president of Shanghao Group, Bailey Han? Su Xingchen nodded with a smile. Brother Bailey is the president of Shanghao Group. Oh my God. Chen Li staggered and almost fell. Luo Shi was not much better. He said intermittently, old Madame Bailey actually recognized Xia Dong as her god-granddaughter. This world is really a fantasy. Bailey's family, the most powerful and famous family in the city. Why didn't such a good thing fall into their lap? I'm not lying to you. Sister Xiao Xia is now living in Brother Bailey's house. Chen Li and Luo Shi had not recovered from their shock and were struck by another thunderbolt. Bailey Han was a golden bachelor. He topped the list of men that women in a city wanted to marry for many years. Xia Dong was living in his house. Didn't it mean that the pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first? Where did that lowly woman get such good luck from? Chen Li's eyes were red with jealousy. She took several deep breaths before she could barely squeeze out a smile. Little sister, how do you know what illness Xia Dong has? Why was she suddenly hospitalized? Actually, I'm not too sure. I heard from Brother Bailey that last night, he saw Sister Xiao Xia lying on the street covered in blood. Her clothes and hair were in a mess. Covered in blood and in a mess. Chen Li was so excited that she was about to cry out. Could it be that Xia Dong was raped? Speaking of which, Sister Xiao Xia was really careless. But fortunately, the child is fine. Su Xingchen patted his chest in relief. Child. Chen Li's eyeballs almost fell out. It was too shocking. Pregnant before marriage and then abused. Xia Dong, even I can't help but shed tears of sympathy for you. Chen Li's eyes flashed with a sinister light. Bailey Yun, you don't have to help me. I can walk by myself. Xia Dong appeared at the elevator door with the help of Bailey Yun. As her attention was on Bailey Yun, she did not notice the strange atmosphere in the corridor. Su Xingchen faced the elevator and was the first to see Xia Dong and the others. He happily waved his arms. Sister Xiao Xia, second young master Bailey, you're back. There are two beautiful sisters here to visit Sister Xiao Xia. Bailey's second young master was the legendary illegitimate son of the Bailey family, Bailey Yun. Why was he taking such good care of Xia Dong? Chen Li and Luo Shi's expressions were ugly. Xia Dong's expression was also ugly. As if she had completed her task, Chen Li mechanically expressed her colleague's concern for Xia Dong and then found an excuse to leave. Xia Dong had a premonition that a disaster was coming. Xia Dong's premonition was right. Not only was a disaster coming, it was simply the end of the world. First, the overwhelming media reported that the illegitimate son of the Bailey family, Bailey's second young master, had returned from the United States and his private life was all kinds of debauchery. Then, it was exposed that the old Bailey's god-granddaughter, Xia Dong, was pregnant out of wedlock and suspected to have an unclear relationship with Bailey Yun. This was not the worst. A video suddenly went viral on the internet. The content of the video was the scene of Xia Dong being harassed by hooligans that night. The video was edited very skillfully and ended when the hooligan leader pounced on Xia Dong's chest. Aya, why is it over? Was she raped or not? Do you still need to ask? She was definitely raped. She was definitely gang raped by those people. I didn't expect her figure to be so good. Look at those breasts. Just when Xia Dong's reputation was at rock bottom, there was another explosive news. Xia Dong was pregnant. Who was the father of the child? All kinds of photos were exposed. There were photos of Bailey Yun holding Xia Dong's arm, and photos of Bailey Han driving Xia Dong around. There were different opinions about the child's father. There were even reporters who blocked the entrance of Gao Mingyuan's school and asked him if he knew who the father of the child in his niece's stomach was. Brothers in rich families turn against each other for a woman. Cinderella jumps into rich family after pregnancy. Fashion editor falls into rich love triangle. Who says broken shoes don't have a good ending? An in-depth analysis of Xia Dong's secret to success. All kinds of news that destroyed the three views of Xia Dong filled her vision. Negative news about her was everywhere. Because of this incident, her family could no longer live a normal life. Her uncle was warned by the school for damaging the school's reputation and took the initiative to stay at home. Her aunt was ridiculed by the people in the community and didn't even dare to leave the house. Fortunately, her cousin Gao Feng was far away abroad and wasn't affected by this incident. Her uncle and aunt were obviously very sad, but they never complained to Xia Dong. They even comforted her to be more open-minded. As a result, Xia Dong felt even more guilty. She regretted that she impulsively borrowed the child. Unfortunately, it was too late to regret now. There were even more rumors in the company. Even her colleagues who had a good relationship with her were mocking and ridiculing her. Hey, isn't this the granddaughter of the old lady Bailey? Why aren't you taking care of the baby at home? Why are you working with us ordinary people from 9 to 5? Yeah, Xia Dong, the child is your magic weapon to turn a sparrow into a phoenix. Don't let anything happen to it. I say, why are you guys so mean? Xia Dong not only has the magic weapon of the child, but also her body and face. Otherwise, how could she charm the two great sons of Bailey Han and Bailey Yun under her skirt? The chief editor, Lisa, threw a thick stack of newspapers in front of Xia Dong with a livid face. Xia Dong, although this is your private matter and I shouldn't interfere, but now, the scandal about you has seriously affected the normal operations of the company. Now, the famous people are not willing to accept our magazine's interview. They say that our reputation is bad. Our colleagues have to go out and be ridiculed by their peers. Tell me, how can we continue to work? Attention, Songshu 566. Chapter 35. I'm sorry, Sister Lisa. I really don't know how things turned out this way. Please give me some time, I'll definitely deal with it. How do you plan to deal with it? Xia Dong gritted her teeth. Don't they just want to know the inside story? I will fulfill their wishes. I intend to tell them everything clearly, and clearly. This is my mistake, so let me bear the consequences alone. Lisa slammed the table. Nonsense. So what if you explain it clearly? Do you think everything will be fine once you explain it clearly? Have you ever thought about the company's reputation? If she still didn't understand what Lisa meant, then Xia Dong would have lived her life in vain. Her face turned pale. Sister Lisa, the company. Is they going to fire me? They're not firing you. The company hopes that you'll take the initiative to leave. Lisa said earnestly, I know that it's a little immoral to ask you to leave at this time, but the company has its difficulties. I hope you can understand. Xia Dong's heart ached. This was the company that she had devoted herself to for more than 2 years, but they had mercilessly abandoned her in this difficult time. However, the company was her only hope now. She almost begged, Sister Lisa, didn't the company agree to transfer me to France? As long as I go to France, the domestic media will quickly forget about this matter, and the company won't be affected. As long as she went to France, her uncle and aunt wouldn't be affected. Lisa shook her head regretfully. I can only say that I'm very sorry. More than a month ago, you gave up the opportunity to go to France. The company has already decided to send Chen Li over. As you know, Chen Li's performance has been very outstanding recently. During this difficult time, she did several celebrity interviews. A month ago, Xia Dong almost boarded the plane to France. If Bailey Han hadn't suddenly appeared and kidnapped her back, Bailey Han. He must have a way to solve the crisis she was facing now. Xia Dong didn't know how she came to the Bailey Han villa. What should she say to him? She was the main culprit, but now she was asking him, the victim, to solve the problem. The more he thought about it, the more ashamed he felt. But she didn't want to implicate her family and make them suffer with her. After hesitating for a long time, she still came to the door of Bailey Han's room. The door wasn't locked, but was left ajar. She pushed it lightly and opened it. When she saw the situation inside the room, her body suddenly froze. Under the dim light, a sexy figure in a black backless dress clung tightly to Bailey Han's body, and the two of them kissed passionately. Xia Dong stood stiffly at the door, not knowing whether she should enter or leave. Then, she heard a woman's voice. Han, I heard a lot about you and that woman as soon as I returned to China. Don't you want to explain? Bailey Han held her tightly in his arms. His voice was hoarse, as if he was trying to restrain himself. Yunxian, this matter is very complicated. I'll tell you slowly. You just need to know that I love you. Other women mean nothing to me. It turned out that she was Su Yunxian, the woman Bailey Han loved the most. The hope in Xia Dong's heart dissipated little by little. She was back, and Bailey Han wouldn't care about her life or death. Why should she still stay here and humiliate herself? Walking out of the villa and into the vast night, Xia Dong didn't know where to go or how to deal with the predicament she was facing. The mocking words of the people around her, the disdainful eyes, and Lisa's ruthless expression all filled her mind. She wished so much that she could go on like this and never reach the end, and she didn't have to face those ugly faces. But she still had her family and children, and she couldn't escape. Maybe, there was still one person who could help her. Xia Dong suddenly thought of a person, and her eyes lit up. She took out her mobile phone and dialed a number. Just as she was about to answer the phone, a dazzling light suddenly swept over, and a car rushed towards her at a very fast speed. Xia Dong stepped back in surprise and blocked the dazzling light with her arms. With a squeak, the tires made a very harsh sound, and the car stopped in front of her. Two strange men got out of the car, grabbed her arms and pulled her into the car. What are you doing? Let me go. As soon as the scream came out, the mobile phone in Xia Dong's hand was snatched away. She felt a pain in her neck and lost consciousness. In the villa, Bailey Han was vaguely uneasy. The servant said that Xia Dong had just come and left. He called her, but no one answered. He called her home, but her family said that she hadn't come home yet. It was the middle of the night. Could something have happened to her? Bailey Han took his coat and put it on. He planned to drive along the way home to find her. The bathroom door opened, and Su Yunxian came out in a sexy nightgown. Her skin was light pink after the shower. She shyly hugged his waist. Han, tonight I'm going to give myself to you as a birthday present. Happy birthday. Today was Bailey Han's birthday, so Su Yunxian came all the way back from the UK to celebrate for him. Her soft little hand drew circles on his strong chest, and her watery eyes gazed at him affectionately. If it were in the past, he would have embraced her and kissed her delicate red lips. But now, he was worried about Xia Dong's safety, and gently pushed her away. Yunxian, I have something to do. Wait for me to come back. Han, good girl, I'll be back soon. Bailey Han kissed her forehead. Su Yunxian stood in front of the window, watching Bailey Han start the car downstairs and leave. A touch of sadness rose in her elegant phoenix eyes. What happened during the time she was away? Why did Han no longer put her first? In the past, he would never refuse her request. Uncle Wang, please tell me what happened during the time I was abroad. That woman called Xia Dong, what is the relationship between her and Han? Uncle Wang looked troubled. Miss Su, these are not things I should say. If you must know, you can ask old madam. Su Yunxian looked at him sincerely. Uncle Wang, you watched me grow up, and I have always treated you as my biological uncle. If you don't help me at this time, no one can. You know, old madam doesn't like me very much. Uncle Wang was in a dilemma. In the end, he was defeated by her earnest gaze. He gritted his teeth and said, forget it, I'll just say more. On the third day after you left, young master brought Miss Xia back and asked me to send her to and from work every day. Later, there was a rumor that Miss Xia was actually pregnant. After that, it was more or less the same as what the newspapers reported. That child, whose is it? I'm not sure, but it should have something to do with young master and second young master. Otherwise, old madam wouldn't have placed so much importance on the child in Xia Dong's stomach. As for who the child's father was, he really didn't know. Bailey's family was very strict, and everyone kept their mouths shut about such things. As soon as Su Yunxian got off the plane, she saw a lot of negative news about Bailey Han. When they met, she also questioned him. He told her to trust him, so she believed him. She believed him because she believed that he loved her and wouldn't do anything to hurt her. But after hearing Uncle Wang's words, she began to feel afraid. If the child was Bailey Yun's, why would Bailey Han bring that woman to his villa? It was very likely that the child was his own. The man she loved actually had a child with another woman. To the proud Su Yunxian, this was a great humiliation. The smile on her face had long disappeared, and her phoenix eyes were shrouded in a layer of hatred. The road in the middle of the night was very quiet, and it was very difficult to see a car for a long time. Bailey Han's uneasiness grew stronger and stronger. He drove very slowly and looked very carefully, afraid that he would miss a figure on the road. Her head was dizzy. Xia Dong had just opened her eyes when she was stimulated by the glaring lights, and she closed her eyes again. A sinister laughter sounded in her ears. Stupid woman, you escaped a disaster last time, but this time, you won't be so lucky. Xia Dong suddenly opened her eyes and stared at the man in front of her who was looking down at her. You're the boss from that night. The man laughed sinisterly, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth. That's right, I'm the male lead in the video. My face is pixelated, but you still remember me. Have you fallen in love with me, brother Hu? His smile was lewd and wretched, and his pair of hasty hands touched her face. Xia Dong was so disgusted that she almost vomited. Why did you kidnap me? The man revealed a sinister smile. I like you and want you to be my woman. But your face is too beautiful, and it's easy for you to hook up with other men." As he spoke, he pulled out a sharp dagger from his waist and gestured at her face. "In order to prevent you from cuckolding me, I'll first disfigure your face." The cold blade slid back and forth on her face, and Xia Dong had goosebumps all over her body. She forced herself to calm down. "Brother Hu, right? Let me go, and I'll give you as much money as you want." "I'm really not doing this for money, don't look down on me." Brother Hu pierced the blade into her cheek bit by bit, and blood immediately flowed out, dripping along the blade to the ground. Xia Dong trembled in pain and couldn't help but scream. But soon, an even more heart-wrenching pain assaulted her. The sharp blade cut straight from her left eyebrow to her chin, and blood flowed along the tip of the blade. Xia Dong was in so much pain that her vision turned white. Just as she was about to faint from the pain, Brother Hu kicked her stomach and cursed, "F***ck your mother, I almost forgot that you have a bastard in your stomach. Brothers, go, get rid of the bastard in her stomach." "How do we do it, Brother Hu?" "F***ck your mother, you still have to ask me this kind of question. Kick, hit, do whatever you want. Can't I cleanse my silver spear with blood? I've never **ked a pregnant woman before." The four men surrounded her. While saying obscene words, several hands touched her body. "No. Don't." Xia Dong crawled on the ground, curling up into a ball, tightly protecting her stomach. "Please, don't hurt the child," she was like an abandoned kitten, and could only use her not-so-sharp claws and teeth to face the powerful wolves and beasts alone. She used her bloody nails to scratch randomly. Her blood-stained teeth madly bit. "Let me go, I'm begging you," she cried as she repeated the movements that had long been numbed. They pulled her hair, rough and barbaric, but she did not feel anything at all. She only tried her best to resist everyone who tried to get close to her. Punches and kicks fell on her weak body like raindrops. Her hands and feet were pulled apart and pressed tightly onto the ground. Her mouth was stuffed with a dirty and smelly rag. Her clothes were torn, and her naked body was presented unreservedly in front of the group of violent men. Come and see. Xinwu 799. Chapter 36. F***ck, this woman's skin is really white, and her breasts are really big. Tiger was like a starving wolf. His small eyes glowed with an evil light as he spat out a string of filthy words. He suddenly pounced on her. His filthy hands spread her legs apart while he hurriedly undid his pants. That ugly and black thing jumped out of his pants. He held on to that thing and moved towards her lower body. Xia Dong shook her head in horror and made helpless and desperate noises. Xia Dong shook her head in horror and made helpless and desperate noises. She clenched her fists so tightly that her knuckles turned white and her nails dug into her palms. Suddenly, with a rumbling sound, the door of the abandoned factory was kicked open. A tall and handsome man stood at the door, his whole body exuding an aura of disdain for the world. Behind him, there were two burly men in black suits. F***ck, who the F***ck are you? How dare you go against us? After being stunned for a while, the gangsters rushed forward. Tiger was the only one who maintained his original position and planned to do it in one go. Mika Keto quickly took out a gun and aimed it at Tiger. There was a loud bang and Tiger suddenly stopped moving. He lay on top of Xia Dong and did not move. His bloodshot eyes were filled with horror and there was a bloody hole in his forehead that was bleeding profusely. There were screams all around. Bang, bang, bang. There were a few more gunshots and the other three men instantly fell to the ground silently. They were killed in one shot. Blood, so much blood. Blood gushed out, and the thick stench of blood permeated the air. Xia Dong's terrified eyes were red from the reflection of the blood. His throat felt like it was stuffed with cotton, and he couldn't make a sound. He could only open his mouth and tremble. Turn around. Mika Keto quickly ordered her subordinates and rushed to Xia Dong's side. She kicked away the corpse on top of her and quickly took off her jacket to wrap around her body. She comforted her in a low voice, "Xia Dong, don't be afraid. It's all in the past. It's all in the past." Man, what a scary man. Xia Dong, who was scared out of her wits, crazily pushed the person who was hugging her. There was only one thought in her mind. Men are scary beasts. She shrank away from his touch and screamed, go away, don't touch me. Xia Dong, it's me. I'm Mika Keto. Look at me, I won't hurt you." Mika Keto frowned at Xia Dong, who was curled up in a ball. Her hair was messy and her face was covered with wounds and blood. For the first time, he felt a piercing pain. Go away, don't touch me, Mika Keto, Mika Keto, Mika Keto, Mika Keto, Mika Mickey of her own world. She lost in her own world and lost in her world of her, she of her own world of her. Of her, he of her. Of her. Every time he got close to her, she would scream and kick like a madwoman. Mika Keto was worried that she would hurt herself, so he stopped. Mika Keto frowned and took out a tranquilizer gun the size of a lighter. He shot her in the arm and she finally fell asleep. Mika Keto bent down to carry her and ordered his two subordinates, who still had their backs to him. "Hattori, you're in charge of getting rid of the bodies of the 4 men. Mitsui, call the doctor to the villa." There was a Hummer parked outside the factory. Mika Keto sat in the back with Xia Dong in his arms. He looked at the wounds on her face and frowned. He didn't expect to receive a call from Xia Dong today. If he hadn't been in China and heard that something was wrong on the phone and followed her signal all the way here, he couldn't believe that she would have been treated so cruelly. After the doctor's examination, Mika Keto found out that Xia Dong was pregnant. He actually felt a little regretful. The child in her belly must be Bailey Han's. Last time in Bali, he found out that the two of them had an unusual relationship. Because of her deliberate protection, the child in her belly was safe, but she was seriously injured. There were 5 deep cuts on her face and only plastic surgery could restore her previous appearance. There were also many wounds on her body. Her back was the most seriously injured. It was covered in bruises and there wasn't a single piece of undamaged skin. Xia Dong was unconscious for 2 days before she woke up. When she found herself lying in an unfamiliar room, her first reaction was to touch her abdomen. She felt a slight bulge under her palm and sighed in relief. Face. She suddenly touched her face. Her face was wrapped in layers of gauze. Thinking of the scene that day, her heart sank. She must have been disfigured. She struggled to sit up, wanting to find a mirror to check the situation. The door of the room suddenly opened and Baitangshan walked in with a look of surprise in his eyes. "The doctor said that you would wake up today. You really woke up. Are you hungry? Do you want to eat something?" "Mika Keto? Did you save me?" "Yes. You are lucky. I happened to be in China. After I received your call, I immediately tracked down your exact location." Mika Keto put a pillow behind her back. "Thank you." Xia Dong was grateful. She hesitated for a while and said, "Mika Keto, can I ask you for a favor?" "Tell me." "I want to leave China. Can you help me?" Mika Keto's expression changed. "Why do you want to leave?" Xia Dong pursed her lips. "It seems that you still don't know that I am now a celebrity in a city. The overwhelming negative news has affected my and my family's normal life. The media will only forget about me if I leave, and my family can return to normal." There was another reason that she didn't say. Although Brother Hu hid it well, Xia Dong didn't believe that he kidnapped her because he liked her. It was very likely that someone was manipulating him from behind. Baitangshan could save her once, but he couldn't save her a second time. Only by leaving would she be safe and protect her child. Mika Keto frowned. "Why don't you go to Bailey Han?" With his ability, he can definitely help you solve the problem. Xia Dong naturally interpreted his furrowed eyebrows as dilemma. Forcing a smile, he said, "It's a long story. In short, I'm sorry to him. I'm not qualified to ask for his help, and he has no obligation to help me. If you are in a dilemma, just pretend that I didn't mention it. We are even." Mika Kito did not answer immediately. After a moment of silence, he said slowly, "I can help you. Which country do you want to go to?" "Anywhere. As long as I can leave this place." Xia Dong sounded exhausted. Mika Kito looked at her meaningfully. "Then go to Japan. I will arrange it tomorrow." "Okay. I want to call my family." Mika Kito handed her the phone and left. Xia Dong took the mirror from the table and saw that her face was wrapped in gauze. Only her nose, eyes, and mouth were visible. Her heart sank. She was really disfigured. After a few minutes, she finally came back to her senses. She pulled herself together and dialed her aunt's home number. Her family was in a mess. Everyone was asking for her whereabouts and even called the police. According to her aunt, Bailey's family also knew about her disappearance and used many channels to find her. In the end, her aunt said, "Although Bailey Han didn't say anything, he is actually very worried about you. In the 2 days that you went missing, he used his connections to block all the negative news." Xia Dong did not want to tell her family about her current situation. Her reputation was ruined and she was disfigured. She did not want to implicate her family. She did not want them to worry, so she lied. "Aunt, I am staying with a friend now. In 2 days, I will be going to Japan to study." "I am sorry, Aunt. I have always been stubborn." "I am sorry." Tears fell from her eyes. Her aunt also sobbed softly over the phone. In the end, her aunt said, "Go. It is good to relax. Come back whenever you miss home." "Aunt. I am sorry." Xia Dong's tears fell even harder. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. Not long after she hung up, Yi Siki called. She probably got her contact information from her aunt. Yi Siki immediately scolded her. Strangely, Xia Dong did not feel angry at all. Instead, she laughed and cried. Even if she was despised by the whole world, at least she still had her family and friends who cared about her. Mika Kito completed the procedures to leave the country. Her flight was at 3 in the afternoon the next day. Xia Dong was worried that Bailey's family would find out, so she did not tell her family and Yi Siki the date of her departure. On the road in the suburbs, 2 cars were heading towards her. A black Hummer was heading towards the city, while a silver Bentley was heading towards the villas on the hillside. Inside the Hummer, Xia Dong's head was still wrapped in gauze. She looked out the window at the scenery outside. As the Hummer passed by the Bentley, she caught sight of a familiar figure in the driver's seat. She widened her eyes in disbelief. It was Bailey Han. Why would Bailey Han be here? This was the villa area. Mika Kito owned a villa here. She had been living there for the past few days. Could Bailey Han have come for her? No, this idea was too ridiculous. How could Bailey Han know where she lived? Xia Dong shook her head and threw away this unbelievable idea. She prayed in her heart that she could leave China safely. The Hummer entered the city and headed straight for the airport. In the Bentley, Bailey Han arrived at the villa area but did not find anyone. He immediately turned the car around and drove towards the city. He put on his Bluetooth headset and contacted Lu Zihao. "Go to the airport immediately and stop them. That D*MN woman. Didn't she know that he was worried? How could she not contact him? If he hadn't heard from Xia Yun, he wouldn't have known that she was going abroad to further her studies in Japan. Great. If he hadn't asked around on the internet, he wouldn't have known that Mika Kito had come to China. Moreover, that D*MN woman had left with Mika Kito. Bailey Han was very unhappy. Very unhappy. His face was ashen. He wished that he could drive the car at the speed of a plane. Only then could he vent his anger a little. Suddenly, a call came in. Bailey Han asked coldly, "Who is this?" "Bailey Han, this is Xia Dong." At this moment, Xia Dong was standing in the airport lobby. Mika Keto was waiting for her at the boarding gate. "Bailey Han, I'm sorry. I was the one who caused all this trouble. I have to leave now. I wish you and Miss Su Yunxian happiness. Don't worry, I won't appear in your life and disturb you again." Xia Dong didn't wait for him to speak. After she finished speaking, she hung up the phone. "Hey, woman, don't you dare leave." Bailey Han yelled in exasperation, but it was already too late. All that was left in his earpiece was the busy tone. D***M it. "If I catch you, you're dead meat." Bailey Han angrily ripped off his headset. At this moment, a truck drove towards them at high speed. The two cars collided with a loud bang. Ad Hongcha 866. Chapter 37. 5 years later, at the airport, people were coming and going. A tall woman wearing jeans and a t-shirt, her hair was tied up neatly. Large sunglasses covered half of her face, revealing her delicate nose and chin. She was very eye-catching. What was eye-catching was not her outfit, nor her beauty, but the pair of siblings holding hands beside her. The little boy was wearing a white suit and a gentleman's hat. He was so noble and elegant that he looked like a little prince who had walked out of a fairy tale. His handsome and exquisite facial features made people sigh. If this child grew up, he would be so handsome that even the heavens would be angry. His right hand was holding the hand of a little girl. The little girl was wearing a white gauze dress, and her black hair was permed into curls. She wore a diamond-inlaid butterfly hairpin on her curls, which made her delicate little face look even rounder. It made people want to pinch her pink cheeks. "Wow, brother, look, that uncle is so handsome." The little girl suddenly stopped and shook the little boy's arm. Her chubby little finger pointed at the big screen in the airport. "Is he handsome? Is he more handsome than brother?" The little boy didn't think much of it. He raised his head and looked at the big screen with a trace of disdain. It was a huge photo of a man with a cold face and a woman hugging each other. Speaking of which, that man looks a little familiar." The little boy blinked. Brother, isn't that uncle handsome? I want him to be my boyfriend." The little girl's big eyes sparkled. "Love-struck fool." The little boy knocked his sister's forehead. "You've changed your mind so quickly. Didn't you like Uncle Hattori Xiaoji 2 days ago?" The little girl made a face mischievously. "Xiaoji is not as handsome as Uncle. From now on, I want to like Uncle. Of course, in my eyes, brother is still the most handsome." "Little brats, what are you looking at? Hurry up and keep up." Xia Dong walked and realized that 2 of them were missing. She quickly turned around and called the 2 little rascals. "Mommy, look, that uncle is so handsome." The little girl pointed at the big screen excitedly. Xia Dong rolled her eyes. "Xiao Guai, when will you change your infatuation?" As she spoke, she looked in the direction of her daughter's finger and froze. The people on the screen were Bailey Han and Su Yunxian. They were wearing wedding dresses and standing side by side. The man was handsome and the woman was elegant and noble. They were truly a match made in heaven. They looked very happy. Even Bailey Han's cold face had a hint of a smile. Was it really the right decision to come back from Japan this time? Would it disturb him? However, when her gaze fell on her adorable daughter, the hesitation in her heart slowly dissipated. For the sake of her daughter, even if she were to fall into ruin again, she would accept it. Slowly exhaling, Xia Dong took off her sunglasses. She smiled and waved at the 2 chattering children standing under the huge photo. "Xia Xiaobao, Xiao Guai, if you don't come over, mommy will abandon you." On Xia Xiaobao's handsome face, 2 delicate eyebrows were knitted together. Mom, I beg of you, can you not call my name in public? I'll lose face. His red and tender lips twitched. Xiao Bao, sounded like a baby who hadn't been weaned off milk. He was such a handsome guy, why should his reputation be ruined by such a tacky name? Let's go, stop talking nonsense. Xia Dong pushed the luggage trolley with one hand and held Xiao Guai's little hand with the other. Xia Xiaobao walked at the back of the group. From time to time, he would look back at the big screen. That man looked really familiar. The melodious ringtone of a cell phone rang. Xia Dong glanced at the caller ID and her lips curved slightly. Brother Shen, we've already landed. Far away in Japan, Mika Kito was talking on the phone while looking at the family photo on his desk. In the photo, he and Xia Dong looked like a family. They each held a baby in their arms and were smiling so widely that their eyes could not be seen. Looking at the person in the photo and listening to her voice on the phone, Mika Kito's cold and stiff lips couldn't help but curl up. His eyes were filled with tenderness. Right now, his image was completely different from the legendary ruthless boss of the Yamaguchi group. If his opponents saw this, they would definitely mock him. Xia, after I settle things here, I'll come to China to accompany you and take good care of the babies. I know, don't just focus on work. Take care of your health. Xiao Guai tugged on Xia Dong's jeans. Mommy, I want to talk to Uncle Shen. Okay, Xiao Guai wants to talk to you. Xia Dong smiled and said a few words to Mika Kito before handing the phone to her daughter. Uncle Shen, I miss you so much. Xiao Guai pouted and acted coquettishly. Her brother held her hand and they talked on the phone with Mika Kito until they got into the taxi. Her soft voice and cute expression made the taxi driver take a few more glances at her. Xia Dong brought the two buns back to her aunt's house. Her aunt hugged her and kept wiping her tears. Yi Siki had also heard the news that she had returned to the country. He had been waiting at Xia Yun's house with Nyonyo. When he saw the two buns, he howled and pounced on them. So cute, he pinched one's face and ruffled the other's hair, causing the two buns to hide whenever they saw her. Xiao Guai blinked her big eyes and tugged on Xia Dong's clothes. Mommy, that auntie is so strange. Pfft, Xia Dong couldn't help but spit out. Yezi, you're scaring my Xiao Guai. Who asked your Xiao Guai to be so cute? Yi Siki poked Xia Dong's arm. Let's talk privately. Xia Dong understood and followed Yi Siki to the balcony. How's Xiao Guai's condition? If he hadn't seen the test results from the hospital, Yi Siki would never have believed that such a cute girl would have aplastic anemia. Xia Dong's brows were tinged with a touch of sadness. She looks normal now, but her condition is worsening day by day. We've tried many treatments, but none of them worked. Now, the only way is to transplant her umbilical cord blood. The doctor said that in another year, her bone marrow will completely stop producing blood. So, I only have 1 year. Yi Siki hesitated for a moment. Half a month ago, Su Yunxian came back from England. Just yesterday, they got engaged. Xia Dong smiled bitterly. I know. I saw their photos. I feel like a sinner who specializes in destroying other people's happiness. Yi Siki hugged her gently. You have to be strong. If you're not strong, what will happen to Xiao Guai? Don't think so much. The most important thing now is Xiao Guai. Xia Dong grinned. I know. I'll only allow myself to be sad this once. From this moment onwards, I'll be an unkillable cockroach. Yi Siki cheered her on. That's right. You won't stop until you trick him into bed. Xia Dong patted her shoulder. Don't be so dramatic. I'll just persuade him to borrow my seed. Then, I'll do IVF. That's right. This was the purpose of Xia Dong's return to the country. In order to save Xiao Guai, she wanted to borrow Bailey Han's seed again and give birth to a child with the same genes as Xiao Guai. Then, she would extract the newborn's umbilical cord blood to save Xiao Guai. Yi Siki clenched his fist and cheered her on. The plan to borrow his seed begins now. Go. Go. Good luck. Xia Dong nodded resolutely. Suddenly, she remembered something. Oh yes, don't tell Ushin about this. If he finds out that I came back to the country for this reason, he'll definitely explode. Don't worry. Who doesn't know that Mika Keto has been pursuing you for 5 years? He definitely won't want you to have anything to do with that person. Speaking of which, everyone knows that Mika Keto treats you well. Why don't you give him and yourself a chance? You want to be a matchmaker again? Forget it. Don't you know that I don't plan to get married in this lifetime? I'm already satisfied with raising 2 children. At the mention of children, Xia Dong's eyes flashed with a hint of sadness. In the blink of an eye, she was back to that hot mother with a bright smile. Tomorrow is my first day of work at Charm. Help me decide what to wear. Charm was the top magazine in the fashion industry and had the highest sales volume. As the editor-in-chief of Charm, Xia Dong naturally attracted a lot of attention. If she wanted to convince people, she had to show her ability. During the topic selection meeting, Xia Dong made specific suggestions for everyone. Peter, many magazines have already done the topic about leftover men and leftover women. Why don't you change the topic and analyze the problem of emotional fraud from the perspective of a dating website? Jennifer, your topic about unmarried mothers is not bad. But I think that if we change it to focus on unmarried mothers, who are rich and capable but don't want to get married and only want to have children, will it be more attractive? The eyes of the people who were named by Xia Dong lit up. After her modification, the topic was indeed more attractive. It seemed that the new editor-in-chief had some skills. Those who used to be skeptical of her gradually changed their views of her. Assistant Lilith delivered an invitation. Editor-in-chief, this is an invitation from Immerse. Immerse will be holding a new product launch at the Weishan Hotel tomorrow afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Xia Dong knew that Immerse was one of the most important companies under Bailey Group. It was a clothing brand that enjoyed a good reputation both at home and abroad. Every year, it would invite media from all over the world to its new product launch. As the editor-in-chief of a top fashion magazine, she was naturally invited. Xia Dong asked Lilith, "Do you know who from Bailey Group will be attending?" It said that in addition to the president of Bailey, the 2 young masters of Bailey will also be there this year. Xia Dong tapped her slender fingers on the table. Bailey Xiong, Bailey Han and Bailey Yun would all be there. It would be a lively scene tomorrow. Bailey Han, are you ready to welcome me back? Before attending the launch, Xia Dong changed into one set of clothes after another, but she was still not satisfied. Clothes were thrown all over the bed. Xiao Guai asked in a childish voice, "Mommy, are you going on a blind date today? Why are you dressed up so beautifully?" Xia Dong picked up the clothes and gestured in front of her as she answered casually, "Mommy is going to work." "Gigai, do you think Mommy looks good in this?" She was holding a sapphire blue evening gown in her hands. It was low-cut, had a hollow back, and had a slit that reached her thighs. It looked very sexy. Xia Xiaobao crossed his arms and leaned against the door. He said lazily, "Mom, are you sure you're going to work and not to hook up with a rich husband? You're wearing such a sexy gown, and there are golden words all over your body that say, 'Come and hook up with me.'" Xia Dong was speechless. She was indeed planning to hook up with that rich husband, Bailey Han. "Son, do you have to be so sharp?" In the end, Xia Dong gave up on the sexy outfit and decided to go for the graceful route. As soon as Xia Dong left, Xia Xiaobao followed her, holding Xiao Guai's hand. The 2 little guys were carrying Garfield backpacks and wearing a pair of sunglasses. They arrogantly asked the driver to follow the taxi that Xia Dong was in. Awesome novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 38. Brother, why are we following Mommy? Xia Xiaobao snorted. When have you ever seen Mommy spend an hour on dressing up? There must be something going on. We're going to catch them. Oh, the soft baby voice dragged on for a long time. She blinked in confusion. Brother, what is adultery? Xia Xiaobao touched his sister's head solemnly. You're still young. I'll tell you when you grow up. Oh, okay, Mommy is getting out of the car. Let's hurry up and catch up. Uncle, here's the money. Keep the change. Xia Xiaobao generously handed the driver a bill of RMB. Holding his sister's hand, they followed the adults in front and sneaked into the press conference. The venue of the press conference was beautifully decorated. The theme of Immerse's new product for this issue was Summer Leisure. More than 30 models took turns to go on stage, showing hundreds of summer clothes, sportswear, and swimwear. Xia Dong sat in the front row, admiring and exchanging opinions with the photographer Ding Hao. Jason's design style has changed this time. I think it's quite successful. Yes, Chief Editor. The combination of these colors is particularly eye-catching. The use of the tassels is also unique. Maybe it will create a retro style. Ding Hao hurriedly pressed the shutter. Strike the iron while it's hot. Make an appointment with Jason. Let's do an interview with him in this issue. Xia Dong's voice suddenly stopped. Her bright big eyes were all attracted by the 4 people who had just entered. Her body first froze and then trembled slightly. The 4 people who came together walked in front hand in hand. Bailey Han and Su Yunxian were walking side by side. Behind them were Bailey Yun and the popular star Lin Weiwei. As soon as the 4 of them walked in, the runway show had just ended. Everyone's eyes were focused on them from the stage. The camera flashes were clicking and many reporters rushed over to interview Lin Weiwei. In Xia Dong's eyes, there was only Bailey Han. He was wearing a black suit, which made his figure look tall and slender. His facial features were deep and expressionless, and his obsidian-like eyes were deep and dark. He exuded a dangerous and domineering temperament, and his powerful aura made people near him involuntarily make way for them. It had been 5 years. When she saw him again, she was actually a little nervous. Back then, she had vowed that she would never appear in his world again. However, things did not go according to one's wishes. The world was unpredictable. After going around in circles, they were going to be together again. Xia Dong closed her eyes. When she opened them again, her eyes were cold. After the announcement, there was a cocktail party. Gorgeous crystal chandeliers, marble floors, grape wine and champagne, beautiful music, graceful dancing ladies and gentlemen, all of this was so luxurious that it made people gasp in amazement. Xia Dong held a glass of red wine in her hand and chatted with people from time to time. She refused many men's invitations to dance, and her eyes were always on Bailey Han. She saw Bailey Han kiss Su Yunxian's cheek and then walk towards the elevator alone. She put down her wine glass and quietly chased after him. The moment he entered the elevator, she called out to him, Bailey Han. Bailey Han turned around. 5 steps away stood a woman wearing a snow-white knee-length silk dress and a wide-brimmed French white hat. She looked youthful and elegant. Her silky hair casually draped over her bare shoulders, fresh and natural like a lotus flower. His handsome face was expressionless as he said indifferently, "What's the matter?" Xia Dong had imagined meeting him many times. She had imagined his angry look, his mocking look, or his deliberately ignoring her. She had not expected him to be so calm. Thus, she was at a loss as to what to do. She walked closer to him and said, "I heard that you and Miss Su Yunxian are engaged. I wish you all the best." "Thank you," he said calmly. Then he turned around and pressed the elevator button, completely ignoring her. Xia Dong clenched her fists and maintained her smile. "I said before that I wouldn't come back to disturb you, but because of some matters, I had to come back. It was a slip of the tongue. I'm very sorry." Bailey Han had already walked into the elevator and looked at her indifferently. "Do we know each other?" Whatever she was about to say was stuck in her throat. Xia Dong widened her eyes in shock. Even if she had undergone plastic surgery because of the scar on her face, she had only restored her original appearance. There was no reason for him not to recognize her. There was only one possibility, and that was that he was pretending not to know her. What was an expert? This was an expert. He didn't get angry, didn't ignore you, and didn't take you seriously at all. No, click. The elevator door closed. Xiaodong watched as the elevator went from the first floor to the second floor, and then to the 28th floor. Inhale, exhale, calm down. I can't calm down. I really want to hit someone. That damned man, how dare he pretend not to know me? Just as she was secretly fuming, she felt her arm tighten and was pulled into a broad embrace. Her nose hurt from the impact of the solid chest, and her anger flared up. She stomped on the person's foot. What are you doing? Let go. That person easily dodged her high heels. His magnetic voice had an indescribable bitterness. Let go? You heartless little thing. I haven't seen you in 5 years, and your heartless skills have improved. Xiaodong was delighted. She looked up and suddenly met a pair of smiling foxy eyes. Bailey Yun, it's you. So you still remember me? I thought you had long forgotten about me in Java. Bailey Yun's face suddenly became fierce. He pinched her shoulders with both hands and roared fiercely, Xiaodong, how dare you? You suddenly disappeared and went to Japan without leaving any news for me. It's understandable that you changed your phone number, but why didn't you reply to my emails? Even your favorite online games haven't been online for a long time. Can you explain to me what's going on? Xiaodong was stumped by a series of questions. She blinked, not knowing what to do. Because I decided to go abroad at the last minute, I left in a hurry and didn't have time to inform anyone. I didn't reply to the emails because I forgot the mailbox password. I didn't even read the letters you sent. As for the online games, I was very busy after I went abroad. I was busy earning money to raise the children, so I didn't have time to play them. She casually lied. She would rather die than tell him the truth. In fact, she was deliberately hiding from him and from everyone with the surname Bailey. Unfortunately, she didn't manage to hide. What was to come would come. She couldn't help but think back to the separation of her family more than 4 years ago. Really? Bailey Yun seriously doubted the authenticity of her words, but now was not the time to get to the bottom of it. He changed the topic. Why did you leave in the first place? Xiaodong smiled bitterly. Do you think I could still have a foothold in City A at that time? A mouthful of saliva from each of them could drown her. Actually, at that time, my brother and I were dealing with it. If you had stayed for one more day, the problem would have been solved. Although 5 years had passed, Bailey Yun still couldn't forget the difficult situation she was in at that time. There was pity in his eyes. You must have had a hard time in Japan these past few years, right? Xiaodong smiled and teased, it's okay. I'm a capable person. I won't starve to death wherever I go. Bailey Yun only thought that she was hiding the hardships of the past 5 years. His heart ached. His slender arms wrapped her in his arms domineeringly. Since you're back, don't leave again. I'll protect you in the future. Xiaodong was stunned for a while. She hurriedly said, Bailey Yun, let go of me. There are many people here. Oh my God, this is the elevator door. There are so many people coming and going. It's so embarrassing. Bailey Yun lowered his head. Seeing her anxious and uneasy look in her blushing cheeks, he couldn't help but chuckle. He glanced at the people around them who were watching a good show and waved at everyone in a high-profile manner. Old friends who haven't seen each other for many years have reunited. I've made a fool of myself. Someone recognized him as the second young master of the Bailey family and hurriedly said politely, Second young master, please go ahead. Xiaodong wanted to find a hole to hide in. Let's go upstairs. Let's catch up on the old days. Bailey Yun pulled her into the elevator without any explanation. The elevator went straight up to the 28th floor. When they met the waiters, they respectfully called him second young master. Only then did Xia Dong know that the Wei Xing Hotel was also one of the businesses under Bailey Group. Bailey Yun dragged her to his exclusive suite. The moment they entered, he grabbed her arm, turned around and pressed her against the door. His left hand circled around her waist and his right hand supported her chin. He suddenly lowered his head and kissed her lips. His passionate kiss landed on her lips. His actions were fierce, as if he was punishing her. She whimpered and pushed him hard, but he hugged her tighter and tighter, as if he couldn't wait to rub her into his body. She finally bit his lips, and only when the taste of blood filled their mouths did he let go of her. Xia Dong wiped her lips with all her might and glared at him. Bailey Yun, you're crazy. I am crazy. Bailey Yun wiped the blood from his lips with his thumb. His slender eyes flashed with a fanatical and dangerous light. That blazing feeling was like a fire burning Xia Dong's skin. She couldn't help but retreat, but her back was already pressed against the door. There was no way to retreat. What do you want? Xia Dong, I like you. Bai Lian suddenly hugged her, scaring her so much that she trembled. Are you kidding? Ivy always treated you as a good friend. I don't want to be your good friend. I want to be your boyfriend. Bailey Yun caressed her lips with his fingers, his eyes filled with affection. She had left for 5 years, and he had missed her for 5 years. He had thought that she would never appear again, but he didn't expect her to come back. Then, he had to look straight into his heart. This time, he would never let go. No. Feelings are too scary. I don't want to get involved at all. Xia Dong pushed Bailey Yun away and almost ran away. It was as if a monster was chasing after her. She panicked and ran toward the elevator without stopping. She didn't notice that someone had come out from the corner and just ran straight into him. Just as Xia Dong ran into someone, Xia Xiaobao and Xiao Guai appeared at the end of the corridor sneakily. Seeing their mommy and the mysterious man hugging each other, Xia Xiaobao's eyes lit up. He bit his sister's ear and said, Gigai, stay here and don't run. I'll go find out about the enemy. Okay. Xiao Guai nodded obediently. Brother, go ahead. I'll wait here for you to come back. Xia Xiaobao wiggled his way to a spot not far away from Xia Dong and Xia Xiaobao, hiding behind the trash can to eavesdrop. At this moment, Xia Dong was on the verge of tears. The man who had appeared out of nowhere had bumped into her hard chest, causing her nose to hurt. Xia Dong rubbed her nose. She felt the arm around her waist loosen. The person in front of her took 2 steps back and said in a cold voice, It's you again. Welfare, Xinwu 799. Chapter 39. She looked up and saw Bailey Han's familiar face. There was no expression on his face, but there was a hint of disdain in his deep eyes. What do you want to say this time? Xia Dong didn't quite understand what he meant. She said honestly, Thank you for supporting me. Otherwise, I would have fallen badly. Bailey Han's lips curled into a mocking smile. He didn't say anything and just looked at her coldly. He wanted to see what other tricks she could play. Xia Dong felt a little uncomfortable under his sharp gaze. It was as if all her secrets had been seen through by him. She coughed and said, I know it's my fault for going back on my words, but I really had no choice. Don't worry. After I'm done with this matter, I'll leave and never disturb you again. Pretending to be an old acquaintance to gain his sympathy, this was all this woman could do. Bailey Han started to feel bored and didn't want to be entangled with her anymore. Miss, I don't care what your motive is for appearing by my side time and time again. I ask you to give up on that idea. Also, I want to tell you that your methods are very childish and need to be improved. With that, he even nodded like a gentleman and turned to leave. Xia Dong hurriedly grabbed his arm. Bailey Han, stop playing around. I really have something that I need your help with. Let go. Bailey Han hated physical contact with others. There was a murderous look in his eyes as he stared coldly at her right hand on his arm. Sorry. She remembered that he hated it when others touched him, but she had forgotten in her agitation. She hurriedly let go of him. Can you give me 10 minutes? I want to talk to you. Bailey Han raised his chin arrogantly. I'm very busy. I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. Sorry. He took large strides and disappeared into the elevator in the blink of an eye. Xia Dong rolled her eyes. Convincing Bailey Han was a very difficult task. She had to work harder. Xia Xiaobao, who was hiding behind the trash can, also rolled his eyes. Because he was afraid of being discovered by the adults, he hid a little further away and couldn't hear what they were saying. However, it seemed that the mysterious man had a close relationship with his mother. They even hugged. Fortunately, he was smart enough to leave a photo of the man. Hee hee. Xia Xiaobao fiddled with the cartoon watch on his wrist. Photos appeared on the screen. The people in the photos were Xia Dong and Bailey Yun. This was a birthday gift from Uncle Bei Tang, a high-definition, portable pinhole camera. Xia Xiaobao was just about to turn back when he heard a burst of hurried footsteps. He looked up and saw a tall man walking quickly to his mother. He was shouting, "Chief Editor, so you're here. I've been looking for you for a long time. The director called and said that he couldn't reach you. He asked me to tell you that he went to France on a temporary business trip." Tomorrow, he will discuss the advertising business with Xinghao Group. Please attend on his behalf. Xia Dong looked at Ding Hao, who was walking quickly towards her. Her eyes suddenly lit up. Indeed, there was a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. Now, there was another chance to get close to Bailey Han. Xia Dong was busy preparing for the meeting tomorrow. She left with Ding Hao while talking. Xia Xiaobao saw that there was no one around. He stood up, pushed the sunglasses on his nose coolly, and walked towards Xiao Guai's hiding place. Babies, mommy is back. Do you have Gigai today? Xia Dong cheered as soon as she opened the door. In the empty living room, no one answered her. Hey, where is he? Xiao Bao, Xiao Guai. Xia Dong pushed open the door of a bedroom. The lights were on, but no one was there. She pushed open the door of another room. Xia Xiaobao was sitting at the desk, wearing a pair of black-rimmed glasses. He was typing on the keyboard. She leaned over to look at his screen. Son, what are you doing? Xia Xiaobao slammed the computer shut. Mom, you're invading my privacy. Please remember to knock before entering my room. Nonsense. Xia Dong knocked his head angrily. You're just a little kid. Why do you need privacy? I've seen you're naked but many times. Where's Xiao Guai? Vulgar. Xia Xiaobao rolled his eyes helplessly. Xiao Guai is taking a shower in the bathroom. Who told you to come back so late? Okay. It's my fault. Baby, don't be angry. Come and give mommy a kiss. She didn't want to. After the launch, she went back to the company to prepare the documents for the meeting with Xinghao Group tomorrow. She was busy until 9 o'clock. Hey, don't kiss me. I'm not a 3-year-old kid. Xia Xiaobao pushed her away with a look of disgust. He sat cross-legged on the bed and said seriously, Mom, I want to ask you a question. You have to take it seriously. Everything you say will become important evidence for me to find Dad in the future. Xia Dong was speechless. Son, you're only 4 years old. Can you not be like a little old man? It's so boring. Miss Xia Dong, please don't change the topic. Please tell me honestly. Who is Xiao Guai's and my biological father? I've said it many times. I was drunk that night. I don't know who your father is. Xia Dong wanted to wipe her sweat. Her son was ridiculously smart. It was getting harder and harder to hide their identity. Xia Xiaobao snorted twice. Well, I wanted to give you a chance to confess. Since you don't want to say it, then don't blame me for doing something outrageous. Xia Dong had a bad feeling. What do you want to do? I can't tell you now. I'll tell you after I'm sure. Xia Xiaobao's lips curved into a devilish smile. He had just transferred the secretly taken photos to the database. From the database, he found the matching information and learned that the man was called Bailey Han. Next, he would get close to Bailey Han and confirm whether he was his father or not. Xia Dong panicked at her son's smile. Just as she was about to interrogate him, Xiao Guai poked her little head in the door and called out in a childish voice, "Mommy, you're back. Baby, did you get hurt today?" Her daughter's soft little body still exuded the fragrance of shower gel. Xia Dong held her in her arms and carefully checked her body to see if there were any injuries. "No, Mommy, I'm so bored. I want to go to kindergarten with brother." Xiao Guai pouted and shook Xia Dong's arm. Before they returned to China, Xia Dong had contacted a kindergarten for Xiao Bao. Because of Xiao Guai's physical condition, she didn't dare to send her to kindergarten. During this period of work, sometimes she sent Xiao Guai to her aunt's house, and sometimes she just left her at home and let the nanny take care of her. She had never considered that children could be bored. Xia Dong's heart ached and she was in a difficult position. She hugged her tightly. "Xiao Guai, let's not go to kindergarten. We'll play at Grandaunt's house in the future, okay?" "No, I want to be with brother. I want to be with other children." Xiao Guai blinked her big, watery eyes, looking very pitiful. "Mommy, why can brother go to kindergarten but I can't? Does Mommy not love me anymore?" "No, Mommy loves Xiao Guai very much." Xia Dong's nose twitched and her throat choked. It took her a lot of effort to hold back her tears. "Mommy is worried that you'll get hurt in kindergarten. With Xiao Guai's current condition, her skin would break easily and she would bleed profusely after being injured. There were several times when she only had a small scratch, and the blood would flow like water. Xia Dong didn't dare to take the risk of sending her to kindergarten. Xia Xiaobao pursed his lips and his little face was full of seriousness. "Mom, let Xiao Guai go to kindergarten with me. I'll take good care of Xiao Guai." Although her son matured early and was sensible, he was still young. Xia Dong was still worried. She softly negotiated with her daughter. "Gigai, let's not go to kindergarten. Mommy will hire a home tutor for you and let her teach you at home, okay?" "No, no, no, I want to be with brother." "Brother, brother," tears rolled down her black pearl-like eyes. She pouted and looked delicate and pitiful. "Gigai, don't cry, don't cry." Xia Xiaobao patted her shoulder to comfort her and said to Xia Dong, "Mom, I'm the man of the family. I'll definitely take good care of Xiao Guai. Let her go to kindergarten with me." Her son's determined gaze and her daughter's expectant expression softened Xia Dong's heart. In the end, she reluctantly nodded. The two little buns immediately cheered and hugged each other. Xia Dong kissed Xiao Bao's cheek and carried Xiao Guai back to their room to sleep. After she left, Xiao Bao secretly climbed out of bed and opened his laptop again. The laptop revealed the information he had just collected. It was all about aplastic anemia. That day, he had accidentally overheard Auntie Siki and his mother's conversation. Only then did he know that his beloved sister had contracted such a terrible disease. Although he didn't know who his mother was referring to, he believed that the person must be his and Xiao Guai's biological father. In order to save Xiao Guai, he had to help his mother borrow a seed. But before that, he had to figure out who that person was. The little man had a determined expression on his face. Bailey Han was his first target. When Xia Dong sent Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai to kindergarten, she talked for a long time with the principal of the kindergarten. She told him about Xiao Guai's condition in detail and hoped that the principal and teacher could take good care of her. This kindergarten was an aristocratic one. The children here were all treasures of the rich and powerful. Of course, the principal treated them with great care. Although Xia Dong looked very ordinary, the principal knew that she had a mysterious backer. Otherwise, Director Iguchi wouldn't have personally sent Xiao Bao and his mother to school. Therefore, the principal agreed to Xia Dong's request without hesitation and patted his chest to reassure her. Xia Dong was still worried and contacted Iguchi Omakami. Iguchi Omakami used to be Mika Kito's subordinate. A few years ago, he was sent to China by Mika Kito and became the director of this kindergarten. However, she didn't tell Iguchi Omakami about Xiao Guai's illness. She only asked him to take good care of the two siblings. Iguchi Omakami naturally agreed. After dealing with the children's matter, Xia Dong hurried to the company. In the afternoon, she brought her assistant to Shanghao Group to discuss the advertising business. "Hello, Miss Xia. Welcome, welcome. This way, please." The director of the advertising department of Shanghao Group was Ren Jijia. He and his assistant personally greeted her at the entrance of the company. "Hello, Director Ren." Xia Dong smiled and shook Ren Jijia's hand politely. His gaze fell on the person beside Ren Jijia. "This is? Look at me. I was so excited that I forgot to introduce you. This is my assistant, Miss Su Xingchen." Of course, Xia Dong recognized that she was Su Xingchen. She just pretended not to know her. She stretched out her hand elegantly. "Miss Su, hello. Ad Shinwu 799. Chapter 40. The current Su Xingchen was the same as 5 years ago. She was still smiling brightly and innocently, but her figure was even more curvy. She also stretched out her hand, but she did not recognize Xia Dong. "Miss Xia, hello." In Su Xingchen's eyes, the chief editor of the fashion magazine was tall and graceful, exuding a mature and confident charm. Although she looked a bit familiar, Su Xingchen did not associate her with the woman she hated to the bone. In the meeting, Xia Dong did not express her opinion much. Lilith expressed what she wanted to express. When negotiating with Ren Jijia, she showed her strong side at the right time. The negotiation entered a deadlock, and the conference room was filled with the smell of gunpowder. Su Xingchen went out of the conference room and ordered the secretary to change the coffee. Bailey Han just happened to be on this floor for inspection. From the wide glass window, he saw the scene of Xia Dong and Ren Jijia confronting each other. The woman was wearing a capable dress, her thick black hair draped over her shoulders. Her face was deep and beautiful, and her pair of passionate and intimidating black eyes flashed with a lively light. She spoke with assurance, and during this time, Ren Jijia had subconsciously pulled his tie twice. It seemed that Ren Jijia was not her opponent. Bailey Han could not help but frown. Assistant Lu Zihao was keenly aware of the boss's gaze, and hurriedly introduced, "The one negotiating with Director Ren is the chief editor of Charm magazine." "What's her name?" "Xia Dong." Xia Dong, this name, was very familiar, as if he had heard it before. "I heard that she was poached from Japan by Charm magazine." Bailey Han recalled the 2 times he met her. She had a cautious expression and was slightly flustered. He thought that she had always been clumsy. He did not expect that when she was working, she would emit such a warm passion. Su Xingchen came back with the coffee and just happened to see Bailey Han standing in front of the glass window looking at the situation in the conference room. He immediately beamed with joy. "Brother Bailey, are you here to see me?" Bailey Han lightly said, "It's working hours now, send the coffee to the guest." "Oh," Su Xingchen naughtily stuck out his tongue, "then I'll go do my work." "Brother Bailey, see you after work." Bailey Han nodded and did not stay any longer. After a round of bargaining, Xia Dong and Ren Jijia finally reached an agreement. They stood up and shook hands to congratulate each other. Happy cooperation. Ren Jijia teased, "Miss Xia is really a woman who doesn't lose out to a man. She forced me to the point where I couldn't fight back." Xia Dong generously teased back, "Director Ren is too modest." This is my first time working with your company. I should thank Director Ren for being merciful. Same here. She didn't expect that she wouldn't even see Bailey Han after coming to Xinghao Group. Xia Dong felt a little regretful. However, she was more excited. She had signed a big order from the Xinghao Group and completed the advertising quota for a quarter. Lilith, inform everyone that we'll gather at Charm Bar after work. I invite everyone to relax. As a new boss, she should communicate with everyone. Hearing the cheers in the office outside, Xia Dong couldn't help but raise the corners of her lips. Charm Bar was the place where Xia Dong had pounced on Bailey Han 5 years ago. When she walked into the bar again, she couldn't help but be a little poetic. She sighed at the passing of time. This bar was even more magnificent than before. The guests inside were all immaculately dressed in suits and leather shoes. The style had risen by several levels. In the dark VIP room, after 3 rounds of drinks, the office workers who were usually under too much pressure threw away their identities and constraints and started to have fun. They played role-playing games, pretending to be police officers, doctors, nurses, and flight attendants. They turned the music to deafening levels, ate cake, danced, and played games. They were simply high. Xia Dong went outside to call the children to let them go to bed early. However, she was found by her subordinates and dragged back to the room. She was forced to drink a glass of wine. She couldn't hold her liquor and went crazy when she drank. After a glass, she began to see stars and couldn't recognize people. I want to sing. She jumped on the table and shouted drunkenly, "Give me a microphone, I want to sing." Good. Her colleagues cheered. Someone put a microphone in her hand, and she began to sing loudly while twisting her waist. The people who were listening to her sing curiously all covered their ears. Oh my God, is this a sound that can be made by a human? The words, wailing and howling, were specially made up for the chief editor's singing. Chief editor, let's stop singing and play a fun game, okay? Ding Hao persuaded Xia Dong with a sad face. Xia Dong's cheeks were red and her intoxicated eyes were unfocused. Even so, she waved her arms heroically and shouted, "What game? I want to play." A male colleague with bad intentions suggested, "Chief editor, if you dare to go to the hall and bring a man back, I'll pay for tonight's bill." Come on, Lin Zhen. Don't play like this. Chief editor is drunk now. What if something happens? Okay. Xia Dong pushed Ding Hao, who was supporting her, to the side and patted her chest heroically. Piece of cake. Wait here, I'll bring a man back. You, get your wallet ready. Xia Dong staggered out and walked to a fork in the road. She grabbed a man and asked for directions. Hey, handsome, how do I get to the hall? Xiao Tianxing looked at the woman who grabbed his collar. She was wearing a sapphire blue short skirt and a silk shirt. The top 2 buttons of the shirt were unbuttoned, revealing her delicate collarbone and vaguely showing her cleavage. Her watery eyes were misty and full of drunkenness. These were not important. What was important was that she looked very familiar. Coincidentally, Xiao Tianxing had an excellent memory. He would remember anyone he met once. He searched in his mind and the corners of his mouth rose. After 5 years, he did not expect her to appear again. What a coincidence. The evil factor in his body was awakened again, and the smile on Xiao Tianxing's lips became strange. He stretched out his finger and pointed in the direction. Go straight along this road, then turn right, and you'll see the hall. Thank you, you're a good man. Xia Dong patted him on the shoulder with satisfaction and continued to walk forward unsteadily. How could Xiao Tianxing miss the interesting scene that was about to happen? He put his hands in his trouser pockets and followed her casually. Right, which way is the right? Xia Dong muttered and could not tell the direction. A pair of hands appeared behind her and pulled her shoulders in a certain direction. Over there. Thank you. Xia Dong thanked him with a smile. Walking along the road, she saw a man sitting at the bar counter. The man was tall and straight, handsome and elegant. His slender fingers were holding a glass of wine, slowly swirling it. His elegant movements were like those of a European aristocrat. His perfect side profile looked very charming and familiar, as if she had seen him in her dreams. She leaned over and hugged him with a smile. "Handsome, I've found you." Bailey Han looked at the woman who suddenly appeared and grabbed his arm. His eyes narrowed. Why was it her again? "Handsome, do me a favor and come with me." Xia Dong grabbed Bailey Han's arm in a daze and was about to leave. "Let go." Bailey Han said coldly. "Woo-woo, I won't let go. You're coming with me. I won't eat you. You can just pretend that you fell in love with me at first sight." A certain someone took an inch and wanted a mile. She hugged his arm and pulled, but it did not budge. "I told you to let go." The veins on Bailey Han's forehead were bulging. He was on the verge of exploding. Xia Dong couldn't get him to budge no matter how hard he tried. Furious, he slapped him on the arm and yelled angrily, "So what if you come with me?" Stingy man. If he remembered correctly, this was the second time she had called Bailey Han a stingy man. Xiao Tianxing burst out laughing. Bailey Han glared at his good friend who wanted to stir up trouble. He gave Xia Dong a final ultimatum. "Are you letting go or not?" No, I won't let go. If you don't come with me today, I won't let go even if you beat me to death. I want to go home with you and stick to you for the rest of my life." If Xia Dong woke up and knew that she had said such ridiculous things, she would be so ashamed that she would commit suicide. Very good. Bailey Han was already in a state of rage. He did not care about the many pairs of eyes around him. He directly lifted Xia Dong up, put her on his shoulder, and strode out of the bar. My head is dizzy. Put me down. Behave yourself. If you shout again, I'll throw you out." Bailey Han violently slapped her butt. "Ouch, it hurts. You big bastard, put me down." Su Yunxian and Su Xingxian had just returned from the bathroom when they saw such a chaotic scene. The three of them had originally planned to gather at the bar, but they didn't expect to find Bailey Han entangled with a strange woman when they came back from the washroom. "Han, you," Su Yunxian's elegant movements froze. "Brother Bailey, what are you doing?" Su Xingxian wanted to go forward, but was stopped by Xiao Tianxing. "Miss Su, Han needs to deal with some personal matters." At this time, Bailey Han did not have anyone else in his eyes. He angrily rushed out of the bar with Xia Dong on his shoulder. Outside the bar was a small fountain. Bailey Han raised his hand and threw Xia Dong into the fountain with a plop sound, splashing water everywhere. Water flowed into her mouth and nose, and she could not open her eyes at all. She waved her arms in discomfort. Help me, you asked for it." Bailey Han crossed his arms and stood at the edge of the fountain with a cold face. His tall and straight body was like a sculpture. Cough, I don't know how to swim. Help." The water made her cough uncomfortably, and her flailing became even more violent. "Stand up," Bailey Han coldly said, without the slightest intention of reaching out a helping hand. At this time, Xia Dong, after being stimulated by the cold water, was already half awake. Although she was flustered, her brain still worked normally. She hurriedly supported herself against the wall of the fountain and stood up according to his words. The water poured down from her shoulders. Only then did she realize that the fountain was not very deep. It only reached her chest. She was too scared, so she did not notice anything unusual. She stood in the water in such a sorry state. Her hair was all wet and stuck to her face. Her clothes were also soaked and stuck to her body, accentuating her curvaceous figure. She bit her lips and her eyes were wet. She was like a puppy hiding under the eaves in the rain, pitiful and stubborn. Idiot. Bailey Han coldly spat out 2 words. Being blown by the night wind and shivering from the cold, Xia Dong completely sobered up. Only then did she realize how awkward her situation was. Bailey Han stood by the fountain expressionlessly. Many people in the bar rushed out to watch a good show. Under their curious and disdainful gazes, she was so embarrassed that she wanted to find a hole to hide in. Attention, Shinwoo 799. Chapter 41. Su Yunxian and Su Xingqian also gracefully walked over, looking as elegant as princesses. Su Yunxian's gaze lightly swept over Xia Dong and held onto Bailey Han's arm. Her voice was soft. Han, how could you throw this miss into the pool? That's too rude. Su Xingqian blinked in astonishment and suddenly cried out. Isn't this the chief editor of Charm magazine? Miss Xia, don't stand in the water. Be careful not to catch a cold. Let me help you out. So it's the chief editor of Charm magazine. I heard that she came back from Japan. Japan's adult culture is so developed. You didn't see how bold and unrestrained this chief editor miss was just now. Charm magazine's future is worrying. With such a chief editor, it can't develop in the direction of vulgarity in the future. Charm Bar was filled with famous people and there were also many people in the fashion circle. When Charm magazine was mentioned, everyone knew about it. Several well-dressed men and women were commenting on Xia Dong. Although their voices weren't loud, it was just enough for her to hear. After Xia Dong's embarrassment, she calmed down. She straightened her back and calmly swept her cold gaze around. Finally, her gaze stopped on Bailey Han. She calmly said, I was drunk just now and was rude. Please forgive me, young Master Bailey. Her calm demeanor and lack of stage fright made the people who were gossiping about her no longer have the nerve to gossip. Everyone felt bored and dispersed one after another. Bailey Han didn't look at her again. He held onto Su Yunxian's arm and left. Su Xingqian stood by the pool and stretched out her arm. Miss Xia, let me pull you up. No need, I can get up myself. Xia Dong pushed her arm away and stood up easily with both hands on the ground. Su Xingqian blinked. Miss Xia, I think you look familiar. You look like a friend of mine. Your names are the same too. Really? In this world, there are many people with the same name and surname. There are also many people who look the same. You're right. Although you look similar, your temperaments are completely different. I was just casually saying. Su Xingqian smiled and waved, then Miss Xia, goodbye. My friend is still waiting for me. Xia Dong lightly nodded. After Su Xingqian turned around, the smile on his face didn't change, but a gloomy look appeared in his eyes. 5 years ago, Xia Dong was kidnapped by brother and disappeared mysteriously. Brother and brother Tiger and the rest seemed to have evaporated from this world. They couldn't be contacted. Where did they all go? Xia Dong, it really wasn't you? You're going in there, you're going in's wet? She was when she heard a frigid voice behind her. She was about to enter. She was when she was about to step inside, when she. Mississippi, Bailey Yun, why are you here? Xia Dong helplessly turned around. Ever since he confessed to her that day, she had been avoiding his calls and texts. She didn't expect him to see her in such a state. Bailey Yun shrugged, looking sloppy. Ever since you left, I've been a regular here. If it wasn't for the music every night, how could I fall asleep without you? This person's mouth was full of nonsense. It would be strange if she believed him. Xia Dong rolled her eyes, ignored him, and walked towards the hall. Wait. Bailey Yun pulled her, took off his jacket, and gently draped it over her body. He leaned close to her ear and whispered, I won't allow you to show your sexy look to others. Xia Dong unceremoniously wrapped the jacket around herself. I'm sorry, I'm not in the mood to joke with you. But thank you for the jacket. Bailey Yun raised his foxy eyes, which were full of smiles. Didn't you ask a handsome guy to help you leave? Am I not a handsome guy? A certain fox stroked his hair coquettishly, his pair of electric eyes releasing a strong electric current. You saw it all? Yeah, let me think. It seems that from the moment you hugged Bailey Han to the moment he threw you into the pool, I was there the whole time. I have to say, you've become much bolder in the 5 years you've been in Japan. Hey, you're still making sarcastic remarks while watching your friends suffer. Bailey Yun, are you itching for a beating? Xia Dong gritted her teeth in anger. Don't be angry, don't be angry. I just wanted to see how much you've changed in the past 5 years. Just this calmness is worthy of praise. Bailey Yun leaned close to her ear. By the way, my confession at the hotel last time was just a joke. Don't take it to heart. So it was a joke. Bailey Yun hugged his chest and stepped back abruptly, shouting, Hey, I was just joking. Don't be interested in me. I like hot girls. Don't come near a shriveled onion like you. How was he shriveled? Xia Dong's face instantly darkened. Xia Dong heaved a sigh of relief, which made Bailey Yun feel very uncomfortable. But what could he do? This woman was like an ostrich. When it came to matters of the heart, she would bury her head in the sand. No matter how hard he tried to pull it out or shake it, it was useless. To think that he, a Casanova of a generation, had been troubled for an entire night because she refused to answer his call and avoided him. Sigh, this was really infuriating. He had no choice but to use a roundabout tactic. From a best friend to a husband, there was still a long way to go. Let's go. Didn't you want to find someone to act like they fell in love with you at first sight? If not me, who else could it be? Hey, there's no need. Hey, don't drag me along. Xia Dong was dragged all the way to the party room by Bailey Yun. Everyone was shocked that Xia Dong would really drag a handsome guy back. The quick-witted colleagues quickly turned off the sound system. Only Bailey Yun's calm and generous voice could be heard in the room. Hi, everyone. Everyone was shocked. Wow, so handsome. The chief editor's clothes are for a handsome guy, right? Wow, so fast. The chief editor is so awesome. Ding Hao was the first to calm down and respond to his greeting. Hello. Bailey Yun hugged Xia Dong's waist and led her forward. Xia, won't you introduce us? What could Xia Dong say? She could only accept her fate and introduce them. This is a colleague from our department. This is the cameraman Ding Hao. The chief editor's assistant, Lilith. He's Bailey Yun. He's my, friend. A friend I just met. Bailey Yun suddenly corrected her. She was dumbfounded and stared at him with an expression of disbelief. He smiled at her. I fell in love with you at first sight, didn't I? Xia Dong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She was speechless. It was just an act. He was taking it too seriously. Wow, so romantic. Lilith clasped her hands and rested her chin on them. Her eyes were filled with red hearts. The other female colleagues also had envious looks on their faces. He was so handsome and so gentle. He was really the best. However, Lin Zhen's expression was awkward. He hadn't forgotten that he had to pay for the bet. Bailey Yun nodded at everyone. Today's bill is on me. Take it as a greeting gift for everyone. Please take care of my Xia. Mr. Bailey, you're too polite. It should be the chief editor who takes care of us. Lin Zhen immediately breathed a sigh of relief and flattered him with a smile. The female colleagues were even more excited. He had spent a lot of money at Charm Club. It seemed that he was the son of a rich family. Hey, Bailey Yun, why did it sound so familiar? Was he the second son of Bailey Yun, from the most famous family in a city? The women exchanged glances. Finally, Lilith took a small step forward, swallowed her saliva, and asked cautiously, Mr. Bailey, are you the legendary Bailey's second son? Bailey Yun smiled in a gentlemanly manner. The answer was obvious. Lilith wanted to faint, and so did the other women, but soon, they all looked at Xia Dong with envy and sympathy. Although the second son of Bailey came from a famous family and was as rich as a country, he didn't have a good reputation. He never lacked women around him. It was said that when he was in the United States, it was even more exaggerated. So while they were envious of Xia Dong, they also mourned for her, hoping that she wouldn't be dumped by him so soon. At this moment, Xia Dong's cell phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID, said sorry, and walked out of the room to answer it. Hello, Xiao Bao, why aren't you asleep yet? Mom, Xiao Guai has a fever. We're in the hospital. Fever? Xia Dong suddenly panicked. She hurriedly said goodbye to her colleagues, grabbed her bag, and left. Bailey Yun chased after her. What's wrong? What happened? Nothing, nothing. Xia Dong tried to calm down. She comforted herself. Xiao Guai had a fever before, so he would be fine this time. What's wrong with you? Bailey Yun grabbed her shoulders and forced her to look into his eyes. I'm really fine. Bailey Yun, I have to go home. Let's talk again when we have time. Xia Dong pushed him away forcefully, ran to the side of the road, stopped a taxi, and instructed the driver to drive to the People's Hospital. Sir, please drive the car like a plane. I'm in a hurry. Xia Dong looked at her watch and anxiously wiped her sweat. Okay. The driver stepped on the gas pedal and flew out. Xia Dong grabbed the seat belt and her face turned pale. She felt like she was on a roller coaster. Bailey Yun looked in the direction she disappeared and couldn't help but frown. What was she hiding from him? She was like a mystery. She suddenly disappeared and suddenly reappeared. She wasn't even willing to tell him her home address. Even if the driver drove the car like a flying saucer, Xia Dong arrived at the hospital 20 minutes later. She took out all the notes in her pocket and threw them to the driver. She jumped out of the car and ran into the hospital without stopping. She rushed into Xiao Guai's ward and grabbed the doctor. She bent over and asked breathlessly, Doctor, how is my daughter? The doctor was shocked. He really didn't know where this woman came from. He remembered that she wasn't around when he took the patient's temperature. Xia Yun, who had been waiting by the side, quickly comforted her. Xia, you're here. Don't worry, Xiao Guai is fine. The doctor then reacted. She's fine. The patient's temperature has dropped. As a parent, you're too careless. How could you let the child get water when she has this kind of illness? The doctor reprimanded her and gave a few more words of advice before leaving. Xia Dong's expression turned cold. She glared at her son, who was sitting beside Xiao Guai and wiping the sweat off her forehead. Xia Xiao Bao. His little face suddenly puffed up. He looked up and called out crisply. Mommy. Come here. Xia Dong glared at him. Oh. The little guy jumped down and climbed onto her body. He climbed into her arms and then stopped. He blinked his doe eyes pitifully. Mommy, it's no use calling me mommy. Xia Dong looked down at the little guy in her arms. She patted his tender little face and said darkly, Tell me, what's going on? Didn't I ask you to take good care of Xiao Guai? What's with the water? Attention, Xinwu 799. You're tuning into the A Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.